Hello everyone, it's Karen Burniston. I am here with our class day recording for the June 2024 virtual class. So this month we are featuring 4 dies from our collection: our barn pop stand, farm edges, chicken, pig, and lamb, and then the butterfly collage add-on. So these 4 dies are required to do this class. And then we have a few pre-cuts from some die sets that weren't required. Those pieces were just pre-cut in your kit, those of you who have kits. And I say that because we do actually make this class day video public. Anyone can watch it, whether you bought a kit or not. That's a great way for you to kind of check out how our classes go, get a few ideas and things. You can certainly, if you want to use your own papers and kind of figure out your own measurements and all that stuff, you can absolutely do this class by just watching this video. But those of you who did purchase a kit, then you have all the materials to make these cards in exactly the colors that you see here. So our first card that we're going to make is going to be our Howdy Barnyard card. Okay, so we're going to use those farm dies in kind of the way they were intended to make a cool barnyard scene. I like this die, the little sliding doors slide open so you can tuck a little character or a message or something inside the barn. It's kind of a fun little reveal with that die set. Okay, so that'll be our first card. That one is, I'm going to remind myself, 4.5 by 6. Yeah, so you'll use an A7 envelope for that one. Our second card is going to be a standard A2. Now, when I've got one pop-up die to use, and especially if it's kind of a specific die like this one where it's a barn, I love to make the second card something where I just use it completely differently. And so in this case, taking that mechanism from the barn and using it not to animate a barn, but to animate some fences. We're going to decorate those fences with some beautiful butterflies from our butterfly collage add-ons, and then it'll be a little happy birthday card that you can sign on the back. And like I said, that one's going to be a standard A2 size card. Love all those 3D butterflies inside there. So that's what we're going to be making in this video. Okay, if you purchased a kit, and by the way, you could probably still purchase a kit, depends on when you're watching this video. You can go to our website, KarenBurniston.com. You can go to the events tab, and then you will find a list of the stores that are making kits for this class, and you might still be able to get one of those kits. We have sold out on our website, but you might be able to find one of the stores that still have kits. What you get as a kit holder is you get the materials, obviously, to make these cards in exactly these colors. But more importantly than that, you get 10 days before this video premieres, you get an email from wherever you bought the kit that includes your very detailed PDF instructions and a link to a prep work video. And so when you go to that prep work video, you can prep your kit for this class along with me. So you take your required dies, you take those materials that you bought as part of your kit, and you follow along that video, and then you get your class to a assemblable, for lack of a better word, couple of baggies. And so this video that you're watching is the assembly of these. Now, let's say you do have a kit, but you didn't know there was prep work. That's fine. This is a virtual class. This is a pre-recorded YouTube video. You can just hit pause right now, go do your prep work, and come on back. You can watch this at any time. You can do this in sessions. You can pause me at any time. Work at your own pace. If you happen to be watching this video on the premiere, then I am in, I don't know which way it is, that way. I am in the chat box, and I can answer any questions that you have. But more importantly than that, just go at your own pace. So you're in control of that pause button. Just hit pause anytime that you need to. You can rewind me back. You can watch me do every step and then hit pause, do it yourself, rewatch it as many times as you want. You can even get fancy and change the playback speed of this video. You can put the closed captioning on and just make me go at half speed. So, you've got lots of choices for how you watch this video and get your cards done. Okay, and so with that said, because you are in charge of the pause button, this is a little different than our Zoom classes. With our Zoom classes, I tend to, I'm always checking in with the students, and I'm only going at the pace that the students are going. Right now, I don't know how fast you craft, so I will just make the cards at a reasonable pace. If you can craft along with me, great. If you need to pause me, also great. All right, let's get started. Okay, we're going to dive in here to our first card, which is the Howdy Barnyard card. So that was the one that I told you during prep work just to put in your baggie for card 1. Really good idea to have some kind of paper plate or tray or something where you can kind of corral your pieces. That's helpful. So this month we are using 49 and Market papers, which are just gorgeous. And they're so heavy that I was actually able to make the card itself out of a piece of the pattern paper. And that was really cool because it had this chicken on the front that matched our theme, and then it had this beautiful green interior, which matches our barnyard inside. So this will be a top fold card. So the first thing we're gonna do is just get this card out that you scored during prep work and make sure the chicken's on the front. and we're going to open that up. Now, that does mean, I think, if you look closely, that some of these words are upside down, but we're going to mostly cover it, and, you know, so I don't think that's going to make much of a difference. All right, and then during prep work, you did something with your other pattern paper, which is we used some temporary tape to hold those two pieces together with a little gap between them, and that kind of corresponds with the fold of the card, so it won't bunch in the card. And then we used the mechanism from the barn pop stand die set to cut the tabs into those pieces that are going to hold the barn. So if you want to go ahead and fold those tabs up just so that you don't accidentally glue them down. And then we took one of the edger dies out of the farm edges and we cut the tractor edge up at the top. And then I asked you during prep work to keep those taped together until class day, because right now they are in exactly the position that they were die cut. So these tabs are identical across from each other at exactly the right location to animate that barn. So if you didn't tape them together or your tape fell off, no big deal. You're just going to have to line it up yourself. But if you left them taped together, that's great. You can flip that over. You can use whatever adhesive you like to get this inside the card. The only rules are no adhesive where your tabs are. It could be a tape runner. It could be glue. I tend to use glue. I'm a glue person now. I've become such a glue fan. And my favorite glue is LINECO neutral pH adhesive. So this glue, it's just kind of a PVA glue, I guess. It dries clear and it dries matte finish, which is lovely for those of us who are a little bit messy with our glue. It dries quickly, so you don't have a ton of repositioning time, but you have a little bit, you know, so that's another reason I like glue. And then it just seems to really hold up to, I live in a humid climate, so it just seems to really hold up to our weather and everything. Okay, so now I'm going to try and center this and get that right over that fold. Like I said, I can kind of look through. Ooh, you know what? Maybe I'm just going to do it like this. Get half of it. I might have been overzealous with doing all my glue at one time, but you know what? It'll be okay. Let's see. Let's say that. There. Okay, now I can see my. I was like, I couldn't see my fold. Okay. All right, and I'm looking to kind of have a pretty even, you know, border around it. It doesn't have to be perfect, but somewhat even. Okay, whew, that was hard, wasn't it? I made it hard. All right, let's take that temporary tape off now because those are in the card. Okay, we're ready to go. All right, so I seem determined to lose that little piece of my chicken. Let's talk about this barn. All right, actually, you know what? Let's just do something a little fun right now before we even get into the barn. Let's go ahead and make our tractor. That way we can glue that on before we kind of got all that whole barn in the way. So what I had you do during prep work is I had you cut with a little scrap of red the tractor again, and then I had you trace around the inside of the wheel with a black pen. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is just going to cut off whatever edge is still attached to it. We just want tractor. Okay. And then you can style your tractor however you want, but if you want it to match mine, let me show it to you. What I do is I color the tires black, I color inside that line that I traced white, and then I do the smokestack, that's probably not the right word, but the exhaust pipe, sorry, let's say exhaust pipe, black, and then the top of the cab black. That's how I tend to do it. So that's how we'll do it. So it doesn't matter what black pen I use, but I'm going to just kind of eyeball the rest of the tire. Okay, and then the color in those tires. Now, if you've got a brush marker or Copic or something like that that can do faster work with that, you could certainly do that. But I'm just going to use my Stapler Tripless Fine Liner, which tends to be my favorite pens for use with the stenciling and everything with the dies. So I use those a lot. It's my favorite black pens. So let's see. So what's nice too about you all doing your own prep work with these classes, you know, you have to prep your own kit, do all your own die cutting and pre-cutting and scoring of the pieces and stuff like that. But then, you know, by the time you get to today and you're making these cards or whatever, you really understand this card. You understand how everything went together as far as the die cutting and everything. And that makes it really easy to repeat the class, you know, in your own colors, maybe your own themes. So one of the best things I like to see is when I go onto our Facebook group, the Karen Burniston Pop-Up Peeps, and I see people remaking their class cards with their own, you know, ideas and additions. Sometimes they change out the colors, sometimes they change out the theme, sometimes they just use their leftovers if they had enough, which this class I think we decided you had enough leftovers to make a second card. Anyway, so it's nice. It's nice to do it this way. I've really enjoyed switching to these virtual and Zoom classes. Okay, so I've got my little tractor is styled the way I want it. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add some glue all over the green tractor. And glue that to it. Let's see, let me pick that up with a stick there. Okay, there's our cute little tractor. All right, that was just kind of getting warmed up. All right, now let's jump into this barn. All right, so with the barn, what you do is you cut two barns. You cut one that's just a solid barn, and that's going to be the back barn. Okay, and then you cut another one where you nest in a couple of the dies and cut them at the same time so that you end up with a door opening and a window. So I like to cut those at the same time, which means I can't get the door die to cut all the way to the bottom because I've cut it at the same time. So there's die material there from this die, you know, at the time that I cut it. So what I do is I just cut it off with my scissors just to remove that. Or sometimes I leave it on. You know, it just depends on what you think the look of your barn is, whether you want something that you have to step over or not, you know, in the barn. But I'm just going to go ahead and cut that off. All right, so that's my front barn, and this one's my rear barn. Okay, so for the rear barn, you're going to have to make a decision on that barn, whether the pretty side, you know, the side where you can tell that you die cut into it, it has beautiful rounded edges and it's not scratched up, whereas this side it probably is a little bit from your cutting pads. Which side do you want on the outside, right? If you think that, I mean, you're never really going to see the inside of the barn, so I would tend to say put the pretty side out, because then if somebody, you know, spins it around, you've got the pretty side out. But I leave that to you. So assuming that you're going to match me, then you're going to do the rough side, the side that has, you know, this is the pretty side, and you're going to do rough side up. And you're just going to set that in front of those back tabs, and what's going to happen is the tabs are going to just glue to the inside of that piece, and then once it's connected to the front one, that'll lift it up, you know, in the card. All right. So what I've done is I've got pretty side of the barn. I'm putting pretty side down. Okay. And I'm going to butt it up to those tabs and then glue them to the barn. So that means the adhesive needs to go here on this side, you know, the top of the tabs, because they're going to fold over and onto the barn. Okay. So I'll show you that. Give it a second to. Okay. So now I'm going to butt that right up centered, you know, so just a little barn overhang on either side. And I'm going to fold those two tabs over and inside the barn. Okay, and there it is. That's the back barn. Now I think I wrote the instructions like, you know, we would get it all put together and then you'd put a roof on the back. It's probably easier to put that roof on now, so let's just go ahead and do that. So that roof is just going to go here on the back of the barn on the pretty side, and you know, you can lay it down like this if you want to. Put a row of glue. Up next to the edge just like that, and then we're just going to line up that roof right with that edge. It'll just match perfectly and overhang just a little bit on either side. Okay. So now the back of the barn has that roof. Okay, then up here at the top of the barn, we're going to add the silver weather vane. Okay, so we cut that during prep work out of the silver mirror card. We just need a little dot of glue up here. Okay, and we're going to set that into that glue and let that weather vane stick up. Now this is a great chance to make sure that you don't stick it up too high, because this is your flat position in the card, so we don't want it sticking out of the card. See? So make sure you keep that in the card. You can lower it if you need to. Okay, that should be fine. Okay, All right, I think that's all we have to do to the back barn right now. Yes, it is. Okay, so now let's talk about this front barn because we're going to do some decorating of this front barn before we actually attach it to the tabs. All right, so let's look for some pieces that you die cut. All right, you die cut some hay. Now, those of you who are using the retired version of this die set from when I was with Elizabeth Craft Designs, some asked, well, I already owe that die set from when you were with Elizabeth Craft Designs. Could I use that one? You could, but just know that when I, redesigned this die to bring it out with our current company, I added some pieces to it. And so one of the pieces that I added to it was that little hay piece. And I don't think that that was in the original one. So you maybe have to take your yellow cardstock if you're using that older die set and kind of make your own hay. All right, so we've got hay, and we've got a window covering. This one will just fit right around that opening, okay? I can't remember if I put the hay. Yeah, I put the hay inside the barn, and then I put the window over the top, okay? So that's what we're going to do there. All right, so let's see. How's the best way to do that? I think the best way to do that is just a little adhesive here, kind of around the bottom of the opening of the window there. And then I'm just going to lay it down over the top of that hay and attach it. So a little hay peeking through the window. And then for the window frame itself, we just need to go around the opening with the glue. Now I chose to do a vertical window on this barn, but you could absolutely, when you're making this card again, you can explore having that be a horizontal. It looks great either way. I've seen people make all sorts of really cool decorated barns, including like for Christmas, maybe with some Christmas lights kind of going around. And so then in that case, maybe you'd want that horizontal window to give yourself more room for lights. All right, we have another roof piece that we can put on this barn. Ooh, you know what? Let's not put the roof piece on yet. I'm going to change my mind because I like to get the slider door on first because the roof tends to overlap the slider just a little bit. Okay, so let's work on that those sliding doors. All right, here's the piece you're looking for. This is the door tracks, okay? The important thing about the door tracks is once we get the doors on and all that and we glue that on, you're either going to use adhesive just out here on the ends. That's nice and safe. Or you can add a little adhesive kind of at the top here or the bottom here, but where you don't want any adhesive is where those door tracks are. So no adhesive through that middle slat area when you're gluing that on. Okay, so just a little preview. All right, to make the sliding doors, we are looking for these pieces here. Okay, those are the sliding doors themselves that have the little, letter pi. Greek letter pi on top, and then you're looking for your door overlays, which are these. Okay, we can't put these on until we get these attached to here. Okay, so let's look at these for a second. So you'll see that there's just a little tick mark to fold that top of the door over. Okay, and see then it just lines up with the top of the door. Now don't glue anything down or anything. And I'm looking at the pretty side of the door. So this is the side that I die cut into. It's not that it wouldn't work if you did it the other way. It doesn't really matter. But again, I'm always kind of like a fan of pretty side up. So I've got pretty side up and I've folded the little T part or the little pie part kind of over. Let's do that on both. Okay, so those little tick marks is where it folds. All right, so what we want to do is we want to weave that little upper pie piece, okay, through the door slider. See, and then it's going to come over and glue to itself, and then it will slide along those doors. Okay, so let's talk about that. When you're looking at your door slider, your door tracks, okay, what you're looking to do is have, let's see, do I have a tool that would do that? Earlier I was using one. Well, let's just use this. So this is what you're looking to do. You're looking to go over the first bit under the door track and over again. So that's how you're weaving it through. So you're not weaving it through from underneath, you're weaving it through from on top, okay? I have seen people do this different ways. It's not like it wouldn't work, but that's the way it was designed, is that you take your little pie piece, you go over the first section, under the middle section, and then over the third section. So see, that's how it slides. All right, then you fold it over, and the only place you use adhesive is along this top bar here so that it attaches to the top of the door, and that the slider parts, they don't have any adhesive. So let me give you a visual for that. So I'm going to put my adhesive across here, or I could have put it across there, doesn't matter. And I'm going to fold this over and into that adhesive. Okay, and then you're going to see that you can slide that door, and it's attached there. Now, if you want to make it have a little bit of a looser slide, which sometimes you may want to, you can take something like a paper piercer or a pokey tool or something like that, and you can kind of go in there underneath, because you're basically just kind of making it have a little bubble, and then you're going to see the difference in how easily it slides. Okay, so feel free to do that after you've got that on there. Okay, it'll get a little squished down when the card closes, but not so much that it won't stay a loose slide. Okay, so then we're going to do the same thing on the other side. We're going to go weave the door under the slider, under the track, so to speak. Again, you can put the adhesive here across the top of the door, or it can even go here across the top of the pie piece. Okay, then that folds over and onto the door. That locks those two pieces together so that you have a nice sliding door. If that sliding door seems a little bit tight, you can take something like a pokey tool, paper piercer, and go basically underneath, through the sliding bit to kind of give it a little bubble. Okay, and then it'll loosen up the slide. So not bad, huh? Easy enough. Now, a lot of times people are like, they get a little confused about doing that because they're like, oh, this seems a little unsightly, to have that little edge there. But that's what these are for, because that is designed so that when you put the overlays on, it just completely covers it. Okay? Because I do have some people, they put it together and they just sort of assume that this is the front because they don't see the seam, but it's not. It's this side. It's not, again, it's not like it wouldn't work this way. It would still work, but it was just designed to be this way. Okay? So once you get to this point where you've got two sliding doors, okay, attached to your door track, then we're going to go ahead and put those overlays on. Okay, so with these, you can put adhesive everywhere because it's going to completely get glued down. And those are the exact size of those red rectangles. So lining it up with the edges. Kind of right now force them to go all the way to the inside of the track so that they'll come together. Okay, so now would be the time to do that. It'll be easier to do that before we attach it. So if you're, if you didn't get your, if your track wasn't kind of loosened up all the way to the inside edge there, you can just, force it by pushing your doors until they come all the way together. All right, let's do this one. So I teach once a month. Oops, sorry. This is why it's good that that glue dries clear. I teach once a month. It's normally on the first Saturday of each month. It gets a little messed up in the summer. We try to avoid 4th of July, and then sometimes there's just conflicts and stuff, that we have to kind of move things around. So this summer the dates are a little bit different. They're always on a Saturday. The Zoom classes anyway. That start at 11 a.m. Central. And we also premiere these virtual classes on a Saturday at 11 a.m. Central. But again, with virtual classes, it doesn't really matter when you watch it. But so we'll do 2 months now of Zoom classes after this. So July and August will be Zoom classes. Those kits are sold only through the stores, but they're very similar to these. It's just, the only difference is today, whether you're doing a pre-recorded YouTube class that you just do at your own pace on your own time in your own sessions, however, or whether you tune into a live Zoom and you have me there live to help. Okay, so for placement on your door track when you're gluing it onto your barn, what you're looking for is you're looking to have your doors come all the way to the bottom. Okay, and then that's going to set the location for your track. And that may be that this bottom edge is over air, and that doesn't matter. Okay, so remember I said We really only want the adhesive out here on the two ends. Okay, that'll do it. But if you'd like to have a little bit more adhesive, you can certainly go along the top here, all the way across the top. I wouldn't even bother going across the bottom. For some, we've got an open area right there, so you're just going to get glue on your table, and you just don't need it. You know, it'll be plenty just doing the sides and the sides and the top. Now that door track will go all the way edge to edge on the barn, so that makes it easy. And then for up and down, you're just looking to have your barn doors come to the bottom. Let's see if I can do this straight. I mean, there's kind of a wiggle to them, those doors, so let's see. It looks to me, yeah, that's good for me. Okay, so for me, and it's probably going to be similar for you, the slider, the door track kind of was a little bit down from the point of the barn, and that seemed to be a good location to have those. What you wouldn't want is you wouldn't want your barn doors any lower than the edge. It'd be fine if they were a little bit up from the edge, but it's going to be a problem if they're too low, because they won't find a place to sit in the card. They have to be able to raise up like this. So this has to be a nice even edge, or these could be a little high, but they can't be low. Okay, so move that, and then just verify that your doors still slide. Okay, they slide easily. Alrighty. Okay, now we can put the barn roof on. Okay, because it's going to overlap that track just a little bit. So adhesive here. Yeah, so a fine tip glue is really helpful. Now, I mentioned the glue that I put in mine, which is the LINECO neutral pH adhesive, which comes in different size bottles. We have a little 4-ounce bottle that you can get on our website. It looks like this. Okay, and you can use that right out of the bottle if you want to, but we sell these fine tip bottles on our website. They come empty and you put your own glue in them, but they really are nice for making those thin lines of glue. And then to keep that glue flowing, what I do is I just use a jar with a damp paper towel in the bottom, and then that'll keep that glue flowing where you're not always trying to unclog it, you know. And then when you're ready to put your glue away, what I like to do is kind of pound it on the table a little bit to try and get the glue. I mean, if you have compressed air, that's really good because you can blow through the needle and blow the whatever glue is stuck in the needle down back in the bottle. But try to get that. And then there's a cap that has a needle tip on it, and that needle tip will nest inside and go in, and then it'll keep your glue out of your needle tip. Okay, so, and that's what you would use too if you ever had a little goober that you just needed to kind of plunge out of there and get it going again. You could use that. And in extreme cases, you take it to the sink with some hot water and you get it emptied out. There's a video on that. Okay, so now we've got our barn. Okay, and it is going to be easier to put our cute little lamb that's going to be peeking out in there. So to go ahead and add that now, all right, before we've glued it inside the card. All right, so let's just put together both lambs. Okay, so switching to the chicken, pig, and lamb die set. The lamb comes in 2 pieces. Ooh, looks like I am missing a lamb face. Well, goodness, what happened to my other lamb face? Stuck on something? Okay, I'm going to hit pause and cut another lamb face. Oh, nope, there it is. Ooh. Fell out of my tray. Okay, so the way that we do our little animal die sets is I will often just incorporate a stencil feature into the die so that when you die cut that little lamb face, you just used your pen through the die itself to get that perfect little face on the front of the lamb, okay? And that way you're not gluing tiny pieces on. One thing with the characters is optional, but you can take a white gel pen and add just a little dot of white in those eyes as a little catch light. Okay. Or I think, what did Ash tell me the other day? It's called, in anime, they call it like an eye shine. I think that's what she told me. So I was like, oh, I call it a catch light. Let me see if I can get that a little closer there. Pick it up with me. So give that a second to focus. There we go. You see that little catch light? Okay, and then that little face is going to glue behind the little overlay. Okay, so what you can do is you can use adhesive on the back of the white piece, just around the face opening and the ear openings. Okay. Okay, and then right over the top of that one. The pink one's a little smaller than the white so that you don't have to be quite so perfect, you know, on the edges. Just have to get it in there where it covers the openings, or fills in the openings, I should say. Okay, so that's our cute little lamb number one. We'll just go ahead and make both lambs right now. So repeat that. Now, typically with the lamb, I would kind of bring the little paws forward, and I would add some black to the end, you know, for the hooves, right? And I will do that for at least the front hooves because those will be seen on this one that's going to be holding the label. But the one inside, both the arms and the legs are covered, so you really don't have to do any styling of the hooves for the one that's inside the barn. But this one that's going to hold the little label, I will at least do the front hooves, I guess I should say hooves. Now, if you have something, a little scrap piece of paper or a Post-it note or something that you want to put under there, that'll save you getting any extraneous black, you know, on the other parts of your lamb. And I'm just going to color in the end of the hooves black. Okay, and I'm not even going to bother doing the feet, like I said, because it's not going to be seen. And you know what, maybe, you know what, why not? Let's just go ahead and actually make that little embellishment for the bottom edge. Okay, so we need, oh no, red one, sorry, red. So this is some of the, in our little pre-cuts baggie. So kind of the way the classes work is that if I try to make the majority of the class cards using the required dies so that you have what you need to make a cool card. But I mean, when the required dies, I don't always have everything I need. Like I didn't have a greeting. So I went to our Howdy word, and that was pre-cut for you for this card. Okay, so pre-cuts for this card came from 2 die sets. So these would be the dies you would need to pick up, those of you who have kits, if you wanted to remake these cards exactly as we made them today. So the Howdy, die number 1, and that's in your handout. Your handout shows those numbers. And then rectangles and labels crosshatch, which we also used on the second card for pre-cuts. I like this one. The biggest ones come out to 5 by 7, and then you also have those labels in smaller rectangles. And you can see here that I used the smallest label and the oval nested together to cut it out of white, and then just a solid red one. So for inside the card, we're going to use the white oval on the red label. Okay, so you can glue those together. And that's just going to be a place for you to sign your card and write your personal greeting. Okay, and we're going to have that little lamb that we just colored the hooves in. We're going to have that lamb holding it. Okay, and then you've got a couple extra hay pieces. Now, if you were using the die set that didn't come with hay, then you're either using your own hay or you're just not having hay on this piece. You know what, I have to say that I did not get that centered at all. Try that again. Okay, that's better. All right, so what I did is just for a little decoration, I added some hay to the bottom of the white there. Okay. And in all of these pieces, if you like the look of inked edges and things, you can certainly ink your pieces. I sometimes do and I sometimes don't. So those little hay pieces might look like really nice with some warm brown or gold inking on the edges. Okay, so there's the label. And then what we're going to do is we're going to have that cute little lamb just perched on the edge there, holding that piece. And let me look here. Yeah. Trying to make sure that I do about the same angle so it doesn't stick out of the card. But I don't think you could get it to stick out of the card. You'd have to go, you know, as long as he's perched there on the edge, it should be fine. And then what you can do to keep those pieces together is you can just use a little glue under the body of the lamb that's attached to the back of the label. Okay, so then that piece is ready. So we just have that ready for when we're to that section of the thing. This one we're going to use on the front. So just throw that in your tray. This little lamb is going to peek out from inside the barn. So now's a good time to add it because you can open up your sliding doors, and then put your lamb at whatever cute angle you would like. If, sorry, excuse me, I should go drink water. If you want them even lower, that's fine. You would just have to cut off part of the body. Okay, so I mean, it really can just go wherever you want it to. You want it to be on this side, cool. You want it to be hanging down from up here, absolutely. It doesn't matter. Just get it in a spot where you don't, go lower than the bottom, or you cut off whatever's in the bottom. And I'm gonna go at a diagonal angle so that ear is kind of hanging down into the opening. This ear is covered behind there. I'm gonna hold that in place, and I'm gonna glue that lamb inside the barn. Okay, so the sliding doors will cover it. Cute, cute, cute. Okay, let's see. Well, let's talk about fences. So I thought one thing, I've got a card here. Here's a card, an A2 size top fold card using similar dies, where it's just the barn. It still has a cute little lamb inside. I like that look. In this case, I used one of our other animal dies. So we have a cow, goat and cow. I think the cow comes with a goat, and then there's like a horse and a unicorn zebra set. So you've got other barnyard animals that you can get that are kind of like the chicken, pig, and lamb. And in this case, I attached the cow to the sliding door so that the door still opens and it just slides the cow over. But this one, because I was in an A2 card, I just did the barn as it was intended. But the one that we're making, we have a wider card, so I thought it would be fun to actually add a little fenced in kind of corral to this inside portion, attached to the inside parts of the barn so that it will open as well, with pop up as well. Okay, so we use the fence from the farm edges, which is one of the other required dies. We're going to use this fence a lot on the second card as well. First thing I want you to do is actually just fold that in half, so that I guess the pretty side's on the outside of the fence. Okay, so I'm folding whatever the scratched up side, I guess, of the fence to itself, and just line that up and fold that in half. And let's do that with both. If I had an even wider fence, a wider card, I could use the entire fence, but I have to keep this in the card, okay? And what I don't want is so much fence. It's not so much a problem on the back one, which is solid, but it might become a problem on this one that it's starting to stick out into your opening of your doors if we didn't trim that fence. So here, I'll give you a visual of what I mean by that. If I didn't trim the fence, and I just glued it in there so that it would stay within the card over here, you can see that some of the fence would be coming out into the opening behind the lamb. Okay, so we don't want that. So what the instructions tell you, your handout tells you, is we're going to get rid of the outside fence post and most of the crossbar, so that we're basically just shortening it by one fence post on both sides, so that now we have a folded fence that has 4 posts on each side. Okay, and we're going to do that with both of them. So I'm just holding it while it's folded. Don't cut from the folded end, cut from the open end. Okay, and I'm gonna trim off a chunk so that now I have a folded fence that has 4 posts on each side, okay? And one of them's gonna glue inside the barn back here, and one of them's gonna glue inside the barn there, and the fold is gonna stay within the card. Okay, so how far into the card, that's kind of up to you. I don't like to go right to the edge because, it's got to attach to the other barn and maybe it ends up sticking out a little bit. So I would come in a little bit. What the instructions tell you is if you'll just get 2 fence posts glued inside the barn, you'll be fine. Okay, so 2 fence posts glued inside the barn will definitely keep it in. Okay, so yeah, let's do that. So it's this back, 2 vertical fence posts and all the horizontal up to the first vertical fence post. You see that glue there? All right, and then I'm going to attach that inside this barn, close to the bottom, but maybe just a little bit up. I don't want it scraping. So see, it's going to kind of go over the tab and all that, and I'm making sure that fold stays within the card. Okay, and then I'm going to do the same thing with the other one. Put my adhesive on the final 2 fence posts and all the horizontal past, within the final 2 fence posts. Okay, and then that's going to go on this side, kind of similar location. There we go. Cool. Okay, this is coming together. It's coming together. All right, so what we want to do now with this barn is we want to lay it face down. We're basically doing the opposite of what we did to that one. We're going to put it face down, and we're going to glue these tabs to the inside of it, okay? So it's kind of exactly like we did with that one, really. I mean, you could even, if you know, if you wanted to, you could even turn it around, because then it's the exact same motion that you did with the other one, which is you lay it face down, pretty side down, okay? Then you add your adhesive to your tabs. Okay, we butt that barn right up to those tabs, having it centered, so there'll be a little bit of barn sticking out past the tab on the right and left side. Let's see. Slide that just a smidge that way. Okay, and there. Now it's attached. And then what makes this pop up is that these get attached to each other, but we also want to attach that fence to the inside of this barn as well, okay? So let's see, let me think about what the easiest way to do that. I kind of think it might be easiest to lay this flat, put our adhesive on those outer two fence posts like we were doing with the first one, and then we'll keep this nice and flat, and we'll carefully close this card, and it'll push the barn down into that glue, and it'll pick it up right in the right spot, okay? So let's do that. So I'm going to lay this down flat. Okay, so I've got my folded fences. I'm laying them down flat. I'm going to add my glue to the final two fence posts and all the horizontal. Let me get close to the camera so you can see that. Give that a second to focus. All right, see that glue there and there? All right. Okay, so I'm going to keep it nice and flat. And then I'm going to lift this side up. Now this is a loosey-goosey barn, so we've got to let it kind of slide into the right position, in the closed position. And give it a press. Okay, let's make sure. So it will attach. Okay, perfect. All right. There's your little barnyard. The only thing left is attach the two barns to each other at the top. You can see it kind of animates that fence attached between the two barns. Okay, so then to attach, let's see, I've got silver here. I'm going to kind of go around over the top and maybe a little bit outside of the silver too, just to make sure that it attaches well. Okay, and then I'm just going to press those two together. And then I would just go ahead and close it and give it a press in the closed position too, because maybe they're just a little off from each other, you know? They shouldn't be, because we kept those two pieces of paper attached and all that stuff when we did it. But maybe, yeah, see, that's, I'm worried about that silver. Might have to use a glue dot. You might have to use a dry adhesive up here, or give your glue enough time to set up. Let me see if I can get in there and give it a press. All right, I want you to stay. Okay, I'm going to switch to a glue dot. So if you have something like some double stick tape or glue dots, let's see, here's one that's open. Why don't you try those? It could even be a bigger one. It's because we've got that silver up at the top. It doesn't always love glue, so let's see. Let's put a glue dot there. Okay, again, I'm going to do that in the closed positions. So know for sure that it's going to fold flat and it's not going to fight me, you know. Okay, perfect. Yep, so you may have to change to a little piece of a dry adhesive, like a strong dry adhesive, or give it just more time for your glue to set up. I am notoriously somewhat impatient with glue. Okay, all right, so we've done all of the hard parts. Yay, that's so cute. Oh, I'm so happy. All right, let's get to decorating. Okay, let's make our other characters out of the chicken, pig, and lamb. Now with the chicken, I mean, the way it's pictured on the packaging and the way I often do it is I just cut the chicken itself out of white, and I use, you know, orange beak and legs and red comb and snood. But this one had such fun chickens in the paper that were just kind of styled a little differently. So I thought it would be fun to kind of do some different style chickens. Okay, so one of them, so what I had to do is I had to cut chickens out of white and kind of the almost kind of plaid color. One of the pattern paper, and then out of the black side of one of the pattern papers. So the inside chicken is going to be the black and white chicken. Okay, so the one that we've used some ink on, and the pattern paper that's more green, kind of plaid, does a different chicken. All right, so what we're going to do, let me remind myself, I think I did whole black chicken. I guess I did. So we're just going to use the head out of the white one. All right, so what you can do is just get to that little zigzag bit, you know, of your chicken there, and then we're not going to use the body part at all. Yeah, we didn't change the tail or anything. Okay, and then we're just going to glue that one over the black one. So in the head area, okay, once again, there is a stencil feature on that die that you did during prep work. So you already colored in the little red snood thing. I think that's what that's called. I don't know. I'm saying it confidently. I remember one time looking it up. Look, I was not raised on a farm by any means, although my mother was. Okay, little white catch points. All right, and then what you've got is you've got legs and beaks. Okay. So, pardon me, I got a little frog in my throat today. Okay, so let's put a beak on. So the beak will just kind of overlap a little kind of snooty thing. Okay. And then you've got legs for the chickens. So we're going to put some adhesive across the top of the legs. And then the little bumps that are at the base of the chicken's body, those line up with the legs. Okay, and then the last little bit will be the comb at the top. So you've got a red comb that you cut thing here. So just a little adhesive at the top of the head. And we get that comb attached. Okay, so here's our finished little black and white chicken. Okay, so let's just go ahead and make the other chicken while we're in the business of making chickens. So this time, we're going to use the red head, the one that you cut out of white and used ink on. We're going to trim that out. And we're going to glue that one to this patterned kind of green and white plaid chicken. Okay, and then same thing. We've got beak, we've got legs, we've got comb at the top. Okay. It does look like I maybe hit the edges of that one with a little brown ink. So if you wanted to do that, you might do that before you put your legs on for this chicken. So if you're a person that likes ink, it's going to look fine if you don't. I'm just going to grab some kind of warm brown. Did I tell you what I use? Rusty hinge. Okay, rusty hinge. So if you wanted a little dimension to that pattern paper body, you could do that around that. I mean, you could go all the way around the head too if you wanted to. I don't think I did, but let's do that. And just add a little kind of edging to it. Optional, definitely optional. Okay, so let's see. We've got legs. Did I already bring the beak out? Okay, hopefully no time passed for you. I just went ahead and cut another beak. I'm sure it's probably on this table and somebody probably can see it on the camera or something or in my tray, but I couldn't see it, so I just cut another beak. All right, beak for our chicken. We want some legs for our chicken. And then the comb. Okay, So I guess, really you could just choose which chicken you want to use on the inside of the card and which on the front. I mean, it doesn't have to match mine. I use the red and green one on the front of the card there, but your card, not my card. All right, we're still on the inside, so let's to the inside here. And so what I did is I glued that chicken attached to the inside of the front fence on this side of the barn. Okay, now can you change your mind? Absolutely. Could you attach it to the back fence? Sure. Could you attach it over here if you prefer? Absolutely. Coming from scrapbooking, all my years of scrapbooking as I did, one of the kind of rules that I always followed was in the pictures, the eyes of the people, as much as possible, I like to have them pointed into the layout because it kind of, you follow the eyes of the people that are in the picture. So I tend to do that a little bit with my characters too. So if my chicken is facing this way, then I tend to put it on this side so that the eyes are drawing your eye into the scene. But all rules are made to be broken, but that's just kind of where the history of how I think about that came from, is really from scrapbooking. I'm just going to go ahead and put adhesive all over the front legs and the bottom of the thing, mainly because my glue dries clear, and so even if it isn't all covered by fence, it'll be enough. You could be more precise with your gluing if you need it to be, depending on what glue you're using, but I just decided to let whatever's on the front of the legs that would be seen just dry. And then just check it, check that you can close your card and everything and it's not sticking out anywhere, so you can still move it. Okay. And then the barn set, if you're using the barn pop stand, KB Riley, this one, not the retired one from my licensing day, but if you're using the current die, which I've now lost, there it is. Then it also came with a little piece of grass, and I do not think that came in that licensed version, so you may have to just skip grass or use your own grass if you don't have it. Hopefully you just got something in your collection that you could use, those of you using that older die. All right, let's see. I'm going to put some grass on the fence post here. This is just to your liking. Put it right there. And I'm going to call that good for the left pen. And then for the right pen, I'm going to put a cute little piggy on there. So in that same die set as the piggy. Now, sometimes when I'm using the same color for the snout as the pig, I will go ahead and hit the edges of the snout with a little bit of pink. And I'm a distress ink person, but, mainly because they're easy to store and keep nearby, and the little things can go underneath, for storage. So that's like really, really helpful to me. And the color that I used was Kitsch Flamingo, but it really wouldn't matter. You could use any pink, and you could use a brush. Some people really like brushes, or you could use a makeup sponge or anything like that. Let me look at my pig and see. Looks like I maybe went ahead, since I had my ink out, and just hit kind of the ears and the tail a little bit too. It's very subtle, but you can see that there. The main thing for me is I like to have a little contrast on the snout when I've used the same color to cut the snout as the rest of the pig. So I'm just going to hit around the edges with that pink, and it will fade because that's distress ink. So, and then I guess while I have it out, I'll just hit those ears a little bit around the perimeter of the pig. Maybe a little bit on the tail there. Not much, just something. Okay, and then we stenciled the eyes using the die. So the die has a stencil feature for that. Let's see, I can see that the inside of my tail is in there, so get rid of that. All right, so styling of the pig. So the first thing I like to do is I glue the snout on. Okay. And let me show you here. It is designed, I have seen some put the pig snout upside down, which I don't know that there is an upside down really. I mean, it's whichever way you think it looks best, but it was designed so that it would look like this. So the little divot part is at the bottom, and the nostrils are kind of flared outwards towards the bottom, I guess, so to speak. All right. Once you have it glued on there, what you can do is you can fill in those nostrils with a black pen. So you just go through the whole of the snout die and color in the black. And then if you want a catch light or eye shine, do that with a white pen. And then for the hooves, we will see them, so I am going to go ahead and color those black. So just like with the lamb, if you want to tuck a little post-it note or something to protect the rest of your pig while you're working on hoof coloring. Slide something underneath there. That's just a, the camera's kind of got a mind of its own lately. Okay, then something like this. And then I like to color the bottom hooves too, a little bit up, maybe not all the way to the body, but you know, it's up to you. And I don't really think you can get this wrong. What's cute about that little piggy, there's some other pieces in that set. Let me grab that die. I keep losing it. So, you know, let's say you just want to use the pig, like pig out on your birthday or something. There's a little bib in that set, and there's a cute little fork that, and then the lamb, you know, when you're using that on a little baby card or something, you can add that little bow tie, a little cute bow to the lamb, or to any of them really, or it's a little hair bow. Oh my gosh, the cutest. So you can use those chicken, pig, and lamb for beyond, you know, just your barnyard cards. All right, so that pig is going to glue to the back fence on the right pen. Okay, so, well, let's see. What's the best way to do it? If you can get in there and just add the glue to the inside of the fence posts, that would be a nice way to do it, because you wouldn't have stray adhesive. But even if you did do just the back of the pig, the lower half of the pig, you just have to wait for it to, you know, the glue to dry in the areas where it was still visible. Oops, sorry. Hold it on there. Let's see if I close that. Give it a good press. Okay, there's our cute little piggy. Right pen. And then I did put another piece of grass on the fence post down here. So get that one. I sure loved these papers this month. We are going to use 49 and Market again in July. So our Zoom class in July, we'll use 49 and Market papers again. And we got some other brands kind of coming up in the classes that'll be fun, some new brands for us. That'll be good. Got some fun stuff planned for the next release. All right. Oh, we're still not done. Sorry. We still got stuff to do on the inside. Silly me. Okay, in the farm edges, there is a chicken wire die. So I had to cut that twice during prep work. We're going to use one of them on the front of the card, and one's going to be on the inside. We're going to cut this into 2 borders. So the way we're going to do that is we're going to cut right through the middle of one of the full sets of chicken wire. Okay. I don't really think it would matter which way. So what that'll do is I'll give you 2 borders. One will be a zigzag border, which we're also going to do that trick on the second card because it makes it look not at all like chicken wire. Unless you do it in silver and you're putting it in a barnyard card. But I mean, this is just a cool zigzag border now. And then this one still looks like chicken wire. So we'll use the full thing as chicken wire across here. And you know, you can decide, I think I'm going to cut it to match the pattern paper like I did over here. So you can look at it and say, I guess I have it all the way up here. You can look at it and say kind of, if you balance the points, you know, you can figure out how much of it you would need to cut off to go across the card. So it looks to me like I'm going to go, or you can measure it if you want to, like this is a 5-inch piece, but I mean, I'm just going to do it by eye. Yeah, you know what? In fact, I'm just going to start gluing it down, and then I'll just cut the other side when I get over there. So, yeah. So what'll happen with our education program is when we have a new release, which we try and do 4 releases a year. So this next one that's coming up, sneak peek starting on June 24th, we'll have 11, well, there's 12 dice in the release, but 11 of them are going to be part of the education program. And those will get split up in July, August, and September classes. And like I said, your best value is to bundle. If you think you want to do the education program, then you could contact those stores about getting your dies bundled with your papers for the education program, because that's just the best value. If you think you want to do both, then it's a great idea to bundle. But you don't have to. Again, you can just do the paper kit. You still have to have the dies. That's one thing we ran into this time a little bit. Some people confused about whether they could buy like the $30 kit that's just like your paper and your extra pre-cuts and your instructions and your prep work video and all that. You still have to have the dies. It's just we offer that tier for people that already own some or all of the required dies, but there's no tier in which, it's all pre-cut. Like you still got to do the work. So that's the way our classes work. All right, so I have glued down my full border chicken wire. Now this one, I thought it'd be fun to bend it to match the shape of the back border. Okay, and you can kind of do that as you glue it down, and then just trim off the excess. So let's do it like that. One of the things that I mentioned during those of you who watched the prep work video for this class is we're making the card with the measurements as I designed it. In my original, I didn't follow my own measurements, and that really became evident with this border because mine didn't stretch the whole way because I cut my paper wrong. For me, but you guys cut your paper right. It was a momentary panic when I realized that I had not followed my own directions. And I already had it photographed. I already had, I was like, nope, this ain't coming up. I'm just gonna explain it. So go with it. Okay, I'm gonna trim that to fit. Flip that around. Cute, cute, cute. Yeah, isn't that a cute card? And with a Howdy card like this, I mean, you really are, you're just going to send it to anybody. Of course, you can change the greeting if you definitely want it to be like happy birthday or something like that, but you can send that to somebody for any occasion. And they do not have to be, a person that loves to farm or grew up on a farm or anything like that. That can just be a cute theme for your card. A little glue under that edge right there. I thought it'd be covered by my label, but I don't think it will be. All right, it's up to you where this goes, where little Lammy goes, whether you want it to stay on the paper, whether you want it to her ear to overlap a little bit, that's just absolutely your choice. And I think I'm going to keep her on the paper. You do you. Do y'all see what I did there? You do you. Because this is if you have to explain it, it's not funny. Okay. Inside of card 1. All right, let's look at the outside of card 1. So I was really going to make use of that beautiful paper that was already there. And all I did is basically cut a piece of pattern paper, the green, that would just give a little skinny white border, and then cut a piece of the UPC strip from the card to kind of cover that edge. All right, so that's the only paper that we're putting on it, and then we'll just do our little chicken and label and chicken wire and Howdy, and then we'll be done. Okay, so really easy. All right, so I'm going to start with this piece. Okay, so I'm looking to keep an equal, tiny, thin border on these 3 sides. Okay, so we cut that into a weird, I don't remember what it was. It was like 7/8 or something. It was in the eighths that we had to cut that one, 5/8 or something. And then this one, which is actually the UPC strip from one of the papers. Some of the paper companies make one side of their UPC strips into a pretty coordinating pattern. It's always fun to use those when we've got them. Okay, so I went ahead and went over the top of the green. Now you could have it straddle. You can, it's up to you where that goes. Okay, and we've already put together our chicken. That's going to kind of attach to this label just over the top like this with some open space that we'll be able to see the chicken wire through. Okay, so if we want to go ahead and glue cute little chickie, you know what, I'll try and stick the glue mostly where it's going to go just to kind of save my table, but ultimately it's all going to get glued down, so it doesn't much matter. So I just did feet, tail, kind of back behind the head. And then I'm going to put the tail up into this little corner of the label. And we're going to put my tail so that the feet stay on. Again, your choice. This is all just decorative. Doesn't have to match mine. Okay. Then with this one, I cut it in half, and I don't remember how I found the half. I think I just did this and figured out where the half was. Okay, the half is right up through this center right here. So let's see. I guess I could have counted. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, so the 7th one is the middle. So you'll have to go up through the middle of the chicken wire to get it cut in half. Okay. Then, which way did I put it together? I put it together so that I created a new, yeah, so these are offset from each other. Just look at my chicken wire. I did like this. Yep, that's exactly what I did. Okay, so what I did is offset the bottom one so that the spokes lined up and it kind of made a new chicken wire. Now, this was just sort of by accident that this happened, but when I was putting my label on, there was a stray edge of the chicken wire and the label actually snuck underneath it. And then I just left it because I thought it was kind of interesting. So that's kind of completely up to you. If you wanted to, as you glue this to your card, wherever you want it, you could maybe avoid some adhesive under some of those spokes, and then as you put your label on, you can slide them so that they come through it. Or I guess we could just do it like that. You know, if you like that look, you could just put that on now, you know, it'll fill that in. That does look to be about what I did right there. Yep. No. I had this way. No, I didn't. No, that is the way I did it. Maybe it was the other half. I think any of it would look good. So yeah, if you like the look of those little spokes of the chicken wire coming through, then you could just go ahead and glue this to the back of the label where it's gonna, I mean, you just have to get it tacked on there because we're gonna glue the whole thing down on the card, you know. So then you could put that kind of where you want it, in this chicken wire, to fill it in. Looks like I did more on the green, so somewhere out there like this. I didn't obscure my chicken, but the chicken wire, and you got to put Howdy here too. So I guess up. Let's look. This seems to be a good spot-ish. Okay. And the angle, all of that's kind of completely up to you. Okay. All right, let's put this one on first. Ooh, chicken wire moved. So did not tack it together very well. Up to the front again. Okay, like that. I like that. That's the problem is we're looking silver mirror card, and so the back of it is not silver. I say that. We do have some students in Europe, and I don't know for sure that your silver mirror card is exactly the same silver mirror card because you have different sources over there. So maybe yours is silver on both sides or something. I'm not really sure. But here in the States, your silver mirror card will have an easy to glue down white backing to it. But it's keeping the silver attached to the white in the meantime. That's the trick. So I'm just, you know, going to fight it until I get it on there. Okay, so probably up something like this. Maybe a little higher. I got to have room for Howdy. I went a little too high. Is there such a thing as too high, though? You know what? This is a good spot. We're going to show creative choices. I don't think there's really a thing as too high. Tick this one in. Okay, all right, I like it. It's funny because when I'm designing the cards, I always design the inside of the card first. And then I take whatever leftover materials I have or whatever, kind of just make like a simple lead in on the front. And by the time I'm to the front of the card, I've completely stopped taking notes. You know what I mean? It's like I'm in the zone and I am just like, oh yeah, no, I'm going to put this there, I'm going to do that there, or whatever that there. And then when I go to do the handouts, if I don't, I mean, I always have notes about how I cut my paper because I do that as I cut it. But then, like, if I don't think to write myself a note, you know, trim, you know, chicken wire in half and, you know, whatever, then I kind of have to just like figure it out when I'm writing the handouts and stuff. Like, oh, what did I do there? Well, that's always a thing. I've got a little farm crud for authenticity. We're going to go with that. Let me find something that's not covered in glue like my fingers. Okay. Cutie, cutie, cutie. Cutie, I love it. All right, so howdy, last thing. And look, if you don't plan to make this a howdy card, your card is lovely without it. So you don't hurt my feelings any. Howdy, it's been cut for you out of black and out of kind of the gold color. If you like the look of ink, then what did I use? Oh, I guess I used Rusty Hinge. I didn't use a gold. You could use a gold. If you didn't have a warm brown, you could use a gold or yellow or something like that. I'm going to use Rusty Hinge. All right, so what I like to do, but that's just me, is I like to, sometimes I'll hit just the bottom half of a word, and I like to do that by getting myself on something like a nonstick sheet or something where I'm not going to mess up my table, and I just do a swirl action from the bottom, and I just come up the word, you know, about halfway or so, okay? Just holding it, coming up the word, and this is distressing, so it'll fade a little bit too, okay? That'll give me that two-tone. Now with howdy, for whatever reason, I thought it also would look nice to hit it from the top because you got those 4 kind of spikes sticking up, your H, your D, and the exclamation point. And so I thought it looked nice to hit the tops of those as well. So that's how I did it, but I don't have to do any of that. And then what we're going to do with the black one is we're going to glue the gold one to the black one, and then just offset the black one a little bit diagonally so that you get that little drop shadow. So when you glue those together, don't have them match up perfectly, have them be a little diagonally offset from each other. Now, which way, it doesn't matter. I suppose, you know, those of you who know all about light sources and which way does your light coming and all that kind of stuff, I don't. So I tend to just default to, I scooch down bottom right. I don't know why. Bottom right seems to be the diagonal that most pleases me, so you do not have to do the same. Okay, so I'm going to start on the H over there, and I'm going to get my H drop shadowed, and then I just kind of work my way down, make sure that the Y and the exclamation point look drop shadowed in the same direction. And so that's why glue is good for this, because you can slide pieces a little bit until you get what appears to be a good drop shadow. Okay. All right, and then that just goes on the front of your card, wherever you want it to go. It can overlap your chicken wire, it cannot overlap your chicken wire, it can go at a really fun angle, it can go wherever you want it to go. Or trade it out for a different reading. All right, card one. Card one in the bag. Let's see. Cute little lamb. Adorable. All right, and then you're going to use a A7 envelope for that one. I think I already showed you a couple barn cards that I had. Like I said, you can put it in an A2 size card, and that can be an A2 size card long like this, or it could be the sideways A2 like this, and it opens this way. It'll work in either one. The thinner cards, of course, you're not going to have room to put the little fences. If you wanted to do that, you'd need a little bit wider card, but you can definitely combine those dies in different ways. Just make some cute cards, and here's one that kind of uses the same thing like what we did today with having the little thing. Now this is kind of a cute idea. We have a die set that are love words that has a hugs and kisses, and if you wanted to use it in a barnyard scene, maybe you just put the pig snout over the U and make it hugs and kisses, so that would be cute. Let's see what's inside this one. Oh, this one's got the chicken inside and some chicken wire behind the chicken, so that's kind of a cool look. Really similar to today's card. I mean, definitely look to those fun pattern papers, you know, for your barn. It doesn't always have to be a red barn. And they make some really cool, in fact, I just got some to use in a class. Look at this. This is Cartabella by the Sea Nautical Plaid, but wouldn't that make a beautiful barn? Goodness, if I have any left over, I'll make a barn with it. Because it's real similar to this one, actually. All right. I think we've done it. We've done our card number 1. All right, I'm going to set up and do card number 2. Okay, back with card number 2. So we're really switching it up for card number 2 because we're just going to use the barn pop stand mechanism to animate some fences, and then we're going to decorate those fences with a whole bunch of butterflies. And it's going to be a beautiful happy birthday card with all sorts of flying 3D butterflies, and this is a fun card. Lots of butterflies. Many, many, many butterflies. Okay, all right. Remember I mentioned that you did need to have your trimmer available on class day for this one. And that is because we cut the mechanism into a folded card for this one. That way we could get the mechanism to mirror image around the fold. So what we did is we folded our inner pattern paper and then put the die in place and die cut it through both layers, so that then when you unfold it, you end up with mirror image tabs, and that they're not straight with the fold. They're actually at a little bit of a diagonal, okay, like that, see? All right, and what we want to do is we actually want to trim away the fold so that we can glue that piece inside the card, or actually 2 pieces inside the card, and we don't have a fold and a fold, and that way it can open all the way up. So see, there's a missing paper in the center here, and we want to get rid of that paper. So my suggestion is you just go ahead and back fold it again, the same position you were in when you die cut it, and then just put it in your trimmer and trim a smidge, you know, through both layers, okay? So how much is a smidge? You know, as thin, I guess, as your trimmer can comfortably do, right? So there's a thin smidge. If it was a little wider, that would be fine. You just want to make sure that when you glue these in the card, that you really are putting an even gap between. In other words, you don't want like this one butted right up to the fold and then your gap is like really on the right side. You basically want those tabs to overlap each other when the card is closed, right? That's where you're going to get the best thing. So whatever gap you put in it, whatever small gap so that you can close the card, you have choices. Okay, here, let me show you your choices. Okay, you can just do it by eye, which is I think the way I wrote the instructions and I think the way I did it. Okay, much like the last card, we don't want to glue our tabs down. So I could start here on the right side. I could look at these 3 edges and get myself a good border, okay, and glue that down. And then I can just look at it and go across the fold and match it as best I can with this one. Or I could glue this one down, then I could put this one face down on top of this one until the tabs lined up, put glue all over here, avoiding the tabs, and close the card and move it. Okay, so that would give you the absolute perfect placement, except that this one could end up being just a little crooked because you did it that way. So, you know, whichever way you think. It doesn't have to be entirely accurate. It can be a little bit to eye. So I'm going to do it, I think, on either side just by eye. All right, so here's what I'm doing. I am going to glue down the right side pattern paper, and I am avoiding my 2 tab holes. Okay, so no glue in there. Okay, I'm going to look to my outer 3 edges to get those pretty even. Okay, and I'm going to come a little bit off the fold because I want to be able to easily close this card. That's thick paper. If you jammed it right up against the fold, it would be hard to fold. Okay. All right, so now you get to make a choice as to whether, like I said, if you're really good at making sure it's exactly lined up with this one, then it should work to close the card and have it move it over here and be in exactly the right spot and be straight. But I prefer to ensure the straightness, so I'm going to do it myself. Again, avoid your tab holes. Don't want to glue your tabs down. Okay, and I think I'm going to turn it this way so that I can get the edges even, and I am just looking at that gap and feeling like I have an even gap, okay? And I could even look and see. So it looks like my tabs end up real close to over the top of each other. They really do. So that's going to work just fine. Okay. They could be a little, I mean, there could be like kind of a little squish in it, but not too much. Okay, so what these tabs are going to do are they're going to animate our fences. Okay, so we need 3 fences for now. Those are what's going to go on the inside of the card. All right, and one of them is going to glue to those tabs, and then the other 2 are going to stack together to make a double high fence that's going to glue to the back tabs. All right, so let's start by making a double high fence. It does not really matter, you know, which overlaps, but I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to have the straight edge at the bottom of the top fence kind of sit on the horizontal line here. Okay, so what I mean by that, I'm going to put my glue on top of the pointy ends of one of my fences. Okay, all 10 of them. All right, then I'm going to line this fence over the top, and I'm just going to go down to where the upper fence is just kind of sitting on the horizontal. Let's see that. Get real close so you can see. Will you focus at that? If I come a little bit away. Will you focus now? It's trying. Hopefully you can see that. Where that seam is between the 2. It's right there. Okay. Now once you feel like that's nice and glued together and dried, you know, and good, then let's fold that fence pretty side to pretty side. So if you're looking at the pretty side of the fence, you want the pretty side to the inside. And just pinch that. Okay. So here's our folded fence, and what's going to happen is that fence, that fold in the fence is going to be right over the fold of the card, and the fence is going to be attached to those 2 tabs. Okay. So, and we're going to use the back tabs for that. All right, I think the easiest way to do that is to take your folded fence and then take this, the point that's going to be in the fold is going to be this one right here, this bottom fold, right? So I can, I mean, even if you wanted to, maybe even back fold to where you could really see that that point is right over the fold of your card, and then you can look at here and figure out, well, what part of the fence is going to touch my tab, right? So let's start over again. So we've got, I'm working with this back tab right here, and I need that folded to the dark pink side, okay, because I want to glue the fence to the front of it. Would it work if I glued the fence to the back of it? Sure, it's just going to be a lot harder to disguise the tab, right? So I'm going to fold it to the back and attach the glue to the front, or yeah, attach the fence to the front of it, okay? So I'm going to just go ahead and back fold my card so that I can really see, because I'm not trying to line my fence with the edge of the pattern paper. I'm trying to align my fence with the fold of the card. And I want that bottom folded edge right there, right on the fold of the card, okay? And then slide up until it is in line with the tab. See how it's in line with the tab? The base is basically at the base of the tab. This is right on the fold of the card, okay? And I can kind of, you know, let's see, how is the easiest way to do this? I kind of did it by eye last time, but I almost wonder if you had a pencil handy. Okay, found one. All right, so I put that there because I walked away to go find a pencil. All right, let me put that back in the place that I wanted. Okay, so I want this little thing right over the fold, and I want this little section of the fence to be kind of right at the base here. So I think I'm going to do this. I'm going to trace the area of the fence that's going to hit that tab. Okay, because I'm going to end up putting some grass, some grass pieces over the front. So I don't think I'm even going to see the pencil line. So I'm not going to worry about it. That's just going to help me place my glue where the fence is going to touch it. Okay, so I need to be in the cross, my glue. Yeah, all right. Now I'm just going to put that right back into position again. So this at the edge, this lined up with my tab. Okay, and it's the back fence, that's the back half of the fence that's gluing on there. Okay, because this one's going to glue to the tab on the other side. All right, so your lineup is that to get this right over the fold of the card. Okay, and see what's going to happen is this is going to come across now and attach over here. Now, I'm never really a fan of doing that by eye because I want to make sure that it closes flat, right? So the better plan is to sit this over the top, put the glue on this one, where presumably it'll fit the tab in the same position because these are pretty much mirror image from each other. So that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to, you know what, before I do that, if I wanted to, I could take an eraser, that pencil line. Now would be a good time to do it. I think the grass will cover it, but just in case any of you did the same and you want to get rid of it, you could do it now. Okay, so I lay that flat. I put my adhesive in that little cross area that overlaps the tab underneath. Okay, and now it's going to be a little fiddly because I want to hold this fence in place and I want this tab folded back, right, so that it will come over and pick up that fence. So I'm going to try and, let's see, hold that tab. Got to make sure my fence stays right in the fold of the card. Okay, and I'm going to work kind of quickly so that I can open it and kind of check it, you know, that I hit the tab, that it's, because I can still pull it off of there if I needed to. Okay, I am much more concerned with that fence folding flat than I am if this fence post doesn't come all the way to the bottom of the card, right? If it's sitting up a little bit, then let it sit up a little bit. We're going to put grass there anyway. It's much more important that the fence folds flat than that every single thing is like perfect on its location. Okay, so there we've done it. We've animated our fence, our double fence for the back. Okay, now what we might want to do now is I had you cut just the mechanism tabs again out of the same kind of light pink paper that we're doing here, because we put the light pink on a dark pink. I knew we were going to have those tab holes that were really going to show on the back fence. On the front fence, you're not going to see them because they really are hidden back there behind the, you know, the fence. So you really don't see them. Okay, but on the front, or the back fence, you really would see them because they're, you know, they're in the ground. So I just had you cut a second set of tabs. And what I'm going to do is just trim those near, but not necessarily right on the fold line, because I want to take that triangle and I want to actually glue it down into that opening. Okay, so it doesn't have to be exactly on the score line, just get close. Trim it out of there. And then I'm going to glue that down in that opening. Now, could you do a second set and patch these holes too? You could. I didn't. I just didn't think it was necessary. I also set mine in there, and now I probably can't get them back out again. And I don't have any glue underneath them. Let's see. Yeah, all right, there we go. Got that one out. Okay, cool. Got that one out. All right, so your best bet is probably just putting the glue down in the opening. Remember, this is the back ones that we're doing. I'm not doing the front ones, but you could if you wanted to. You just have to go cut another set of tabs. You can also do it after the fact, like when your whole card's done. You can say, oh, I want to disguise those. You can do that. So I mean, you know, it's just not exactly the same area of the paper, but it really disguises those holes. Okay, cool. I think I'm trying to decide if we should put the. I'm trying to remember how I did it. I think maybe we won't put the front fence on just yet, because we can do a lot of work on this back fence with, you know, before we have to have this one in the way. Okay, so why don't we just hold off on putting our second fence in, and let's work on the decoration for this back one. I thought it would make a really pretty happy birthday card. So there is a happy birthday that's been pre-cut for you out of our word set 2 set. I'm just getting my pre-cuts out here. Okay. Right, and I thought that would show up the best if it was cut out of black. Okay, and then you really kind of want to, when you glue that happy birthday on, you want to be up near the top horizontal portion of the fence, because that'll keep it up high enough to where the butterflies on the front fence won't obscure it. Okay, you know, hopefully you have some glue like I'm using, the LINECO, where it's going to dry clear, because really, honestly, the easiest way to do this is just probably to put the glue all over the back of the birthday, pinch it on there where you want it, and let the leftover glue that's through the holes of the fence just dry. Okay, so you just wouldn't want to close your card right away if you do it that way. Otherwise, you really have to kind of figure out, well, where is it hitting the fence post, and then you know, dot your glue on the fence post, and that just sounds really hard. So I'm going to do it the other way, which is to put my glue all over the back of birthday and happy, and just pinch it onto the fence and let the leftover glue, the stray adhesive, just dry before I close the card. Okay, so I want birthday. I'm going to start it. I'm going to start it in that inner fence post, I think, on the right side of the card, something like this. Okay. So you wouldn't really want it to cross the fold. It could, but then you have a fold in your word and all that stuff. Okay, and then happy's going to go on the other side. Now, I'm sure many of you are already thinking about what else could I animate, you know, with the tabs in that direction. I mean, you got that barn pop stand, and you know, definitely have the opportunity to animate some things in this side fold card way, you know, just something that can span across the two. Could it be like a solid mountain? Could it be mountains? Yeah, absolutely. It could be whatever you want. Whatever you want. Whatever you want that you can put a fold in the middle and that will reach out to your tabs. You can absolutely animate it in this way. So show us what you're thinking of. Put those in our pop-up peeps group. All right, do you remember when we were cutting 8 of these little grass pieces and the audio cut out because there was something loud going on and I dropped it? And so on the prep work video, on the prep work video when I was cutting my 8 grass pieces, I dropped the audio. I don't even know what it was, silence or something, but it was really distracting. So, okay, so what we're going to do with those 8 grass pieces is we're going to make some grass clumps. You know, leave it to me to only have 7, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, come on, Karen. Oh, there it is. Oh, how things fall out of my tray all the time. Good. All right, so there's a good visual of this in your handout right here, okay? So it says we're going to take with the grass pieces and we're just going to cut them kind of across, and we're going to get rid of that left stalk completely, and we're going to cut them, and then you're going to kind of be left with this sort of like W piece, and then we're going to glue the 2 W's together to make these cool grass clumps that have a nice straight edge on the bottom so they can easily be attached to the fences, okay? So, and that's going to go for all 8 of them. We're going to cut this way. I just do it with your scissors, right? So just take, in fact, you could even put a couple over the top of each other if you wanted to and cut them at the same time. It's up to you. I'm not going to do that because that's hard to hold them, but so I'm just going to get on top of that that piece. I don't need that, and I'm left with this little W kind of looking piece. I'm going to take another one, do the same thing. Okay, and then I glue the 2 W's together to make a little clump of grass. It's a little bit wider. Okay, so something like, see if I can get a little on that where that touches it. I'm afraid of getting too clumpy a glue, and I'm not being real cautious. All right, let's look at this. So you're going to make 4 of these little grass clumps. Okay, so you're just going to follow that same exact process of cutting. The leftmost stalk thing off, straight across. So I know we have new people this month. I saw some new names in the kits that we sold on our website, and welcome all of our new people. Thank you for giving us a try on the classes. If you're new completely to our brand, I am Karen Burniston, so I am the person that designs all these dies. My background is in engineering. Some people do ask me that sometimes. I just kind of have a love of paper engineering, so to speak. And so I teamed up with my good friend Tanya Kostanek, who's the owner of Riley and Company. And back in 2017, we started this company. And so we're just kind of a small boutique brand that's just based on my die designs. Website's KarenBurniston.com, just my name.com. We are based out of Topeka, Kansas. That's where the product ships from. That's where Tanya is in the home office. But then I work remotely from Texas. So I am in Texas right now doing this. But yeah, we come out with about 40 new dies a year. So it's something, and then we always try to make all the dies really compatible with each other. So we try not to discontinue things and just bring out some new look for it, so that you'll find a lot of our pop-up dies are what we kind of call foundation dies, meaning that there's add-ons that fit them. and yeah. So, and I do a lot of YouTube videos, so you can subscribe to this YouTube channel, and you'll just get ideas using our dies to make cool pop-up cards. All right, so I'm going to put a clump on the fence to kind of disguise the tab there, and I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. Okay, so once you get your 4 double grass clumps together, and by now the stray glue from your happy birthday has surely dried, but now you've got new stray adhesive from your grass, so you just have to be a little careful with things. Alrighty. Okay, so while we still have our trimmer, before I have you put that away, let's get the pieces that we need to extend some of our fence posts up. So during prep work, I asked you to cut some skinny pieces of the white smoke cardstock. That's pretty thick white cardstock. And I just had you cut them. I think they're 6 inches long right now. There are 3 measurements that we're going to use. There is 1 1/4 inches, 2 1/2 inches, and 2 3/4. Okay, so we need those 3 pieces out of these 2 pieces. Only one of each. Okay, so 1 3/4. Okay, we need one of those. Okay, that's Junior. All right, Mama is 2 1/2 inches. Let's go out here to 2 1/2. All right, this one's going to be too short to use, so we'll just get rid of that one and go to our other strip, and then get the Big Daddy is going to be 2 3/4. 1, 2, 3. There. Okay, so we've got 2 3/4. That's the tallest. Okay, we've got 2 1/2. That's the middle, and we've got 1 3/4, and that's the Junior. All right, and then you will not need your trimmer anymore for class. Okay, I have to remind myself which one goes on which. Let's see. Glue the shortest strip to the back of the double fence, starting on the ground behind the second from the left fence post. Okay, so Junior is going to glue behind where you put your grass pieces on, that second from the left fence post. You're going to start it at the ground and let it stick up higher than the fence. Okay, so I'm going to just eye how much fence post I have to glue to. I could have gone higher. Okay, and I'm going to basically extend that second from the left fence post up a little higher using Junior, which is the 1 3/4. Yep. Okay. Let me show you on our finished one what that's going to do. That's going to give me a spot to glue that first butterfly to that's supported, so it's not trying to just hold up all those butterflies from just attaching to those little tiny fence stubs. We're going to have a nice taller piece there to hold that butterfly on to where it can attach 2 more butterflies to it, including a 3-dimensional one. Okay, now the middle one. Okay, the middle one, Mama here, she's going to go 2 more fence posts over, and then Big Daddy there is going to go over here on the right side. That's the tall one. Okay. All right, so let's go to the second highest one. It's this one. That's going to go 2 fence posts over from Junior. Yep, so a good amount of glue. And start at the ground. Give it good support. And we got that. Everything's staying in the card. It's all good. Okay, and then the big one is going to go second from the right. Okay, so kind of behind your grass clumps and coming up. And there. You can, I probably should show that. You could certainly do your glue on the back of the fence post and down to the ground like that if you didn't want to have to try and figure out how high your glue can go on your fence post. You can do it that way. So whichever way. But you do want it nicely secured to the back of the fence, so that it's good support for those butterflies. We are going to add a lot of them. Okay, let's get into some butterflies. All right, butterflies. So we've talked about add-on dies. So the Butterfly Collage add-ons was a die set that came out at the same time as a die that we have that's called our Heart Collage pop-up, and the butterflies was a way that you could use with that pop-up die and turn it into a cool butterfly collage where you have all these 3D butterflies flying and stuff like that. Okay, so that's the butterfly collage add-ons, but it doesn't come with this pop-up. That pop-up is another die. That's the heart collage pop-up, and then this is just a butterfly set that fits it. But you can use those butterflies on any of the pop-ups or just on their own. You can just use them as pretty butterflies on anything. So this die set is really just a die set that cuts butterflies. So it's got the 3D butterflies, which consist of the slots and the notches, and you get 2 sets. You get 2 of your small butterflies, and then you get your right-facing and your left-facing butterfly, which you are probably very familiar with all those butterflies from having done so many of them. All right, let's start with our butterflies that have slotted and notches. There's 3 that we're going to make. Okay, what you've got is you've got patterned, and you've got pink glossy or pink shimmer that have just 1 notch and 1 slot. And then when you get to the orange shimmer, we did 2 notched butterflies and 1 slot. Okay, that one's going to be our triple that we're going to put over here. These 2 are just going to be the double, the standard 3D butterfly. Okay, so let's talk about the standard 3D butterfly. There is a score line. See if I can see it easier on the pattern paper one. You may be able to see it. When you're looking at your notched butterfly, so that means notches top and bottom, this lower left wing actually has a score line to be able to fold it temporarily. So you fold it temporarily, you take the upper wing and you get it in that slot, and you just go down until the notch is in the slot at the top. And that will pull the rest of the butterfly through to where you can unfold the back wing on the other side of the butterfly. And then you have made a 3D butterfly where they're locked together, okay? But they can open and close really nicely, okay? That's the 3D butterfly, okay? And that's the same if you got the balloon collage add-ons or the ones that come with the heart collage. So you start by looking at your notched butterfly. You fold this back wing up temporarily. You get the upper wing through until the notch is seated at the top, and then you unfold the wing once it's through the slot. That one I just kind of made my own fold. I just folded it wherever. So I think if you fold it exactly where the score line is, it's really easy to do, but it's easy enough to just get it through there some kind of way. Okay, so there's our 3D. Now, you can, well, the thing about the 3D butterflies that are just made with 2 butterflies is they really open. Like, they open all the way. You know, once they're released, you know, up into the air or whatever, they open really far. This one got a little crunched at one point when I was making the card. So, okay, sometimes you don't want to have that big of an open, especially directly across from each other, because you can really create a catch point. So another way you can use the 3D butterfly, it's a more subtle look, but you can make a triple. So it's hard to do it evenly on the camera, but I don't know if you can see that there's basically, you've got a notched butterfly going through the slot to make half, and then you've got another notched butterfly over here to make another half, and then it's essentially a triple butterfly. You're only kind of seeing on camera right now, you're kind of only seeing the 2 notched ones, but let me get it a little bit at an angle, and you can see the one in the middle. The slotted one is in the middle where this butterfly is attached to it. Okay. Now this one doesn't give nearly as much open as this one. It'll open up a little bit, so you can see, you know, it flutters a little bit, and that's kind of cool. But what's nice about that is it pretty much stays in the position that it needs to be for it to flatten down. So it's really, they don't create as many catch points when you use the triple. And yeah, my pink butterfly, it's been crumpled enough that it's not holding its shape, but it did for a long time. Okay, so as we get this thing put together, I am going to give you a little caution, because I did kind of end up like crunching my 3D butterfly over here from just, and you know how I did it? I did it from just opening and closing this card really fast a bunch of times, okay? And then not giving it a chance to find that closed position. So because we have these 3D butterflies over here, and you have this one over here, and everything's got to kind of find a resting spot in the finished card, when you're working on it, go slow with your close to give it that chance, you know, to find that closed position or whatever. And don't, you know, follow Karen, who just sits here and, you know what I mean, like opens it and closes. So, because that's how I ended up crunching my butterfly. I didn't give it a chance, you know, to find a closed position. So anyway, I will try to remember to be more delicate with this one as I'm opening and closing it, because there are a lot of moving parts. All right, let's talk about that triple butterfly. So when you want to make a triple butterfly, you take your notched butterfly and you fold it to the back so your pretty side is forward. Okay, so you're basically folding it flat to flat. In our case, we got a glimmer cardstock, so glimmer's going to be on the outside of the butterfly. Okay, And then you're going to basically put those together and you've got a butterfly, see? And what we want to do is we want to get them both through that slot, okay? And what that means is it's not always going to be the same wing that's used, right? If you're doing it typical fashion, it's this back left one, and that is true for the one that's going to be on the right side of the butterfly. That is the back wing. So I'm going to fold that up. I'm going to hold it in place. I'm going to get my top through until the notch is in, and then I'm going to unfold. All right, so there's my typical 3D butterfly. But in this case, those are going to fold over and be just the right side. See that? Okay, now I've got to get this one through, but it needs to be opposite. So it's not going to be this lower left wing that I have to fold. I'm going to have to make my own fold because it's not scored on the right side. And I'm going to have to fold that wing up, right? And then I'm going to hold my one that I've already put through the slot. I'm going to get through the slot on the other side until the notch is seated inside, okay? And pull that bottom wing through the slot and unfold it, okay? And then that's going to be the right side. So there you've got, basically, if you held your slotted butterfly, you've got a notched one making this half, and you've got a notched one making that half, okay? So there's your triple. So triple is a good one to use like on the front of a card. Let me show you a couple cards using a triple like on the front. So here's one. See? So it just gives it a little bit of lift. You know, it'd make it really great on the front of the card. But you can also use them on the inside. So here's one, a card that uses, you know, the 3D butterfly up here and a dangling 3D butterfly here. But this one's a, no, actually I think that's still a double. I just glued it down in such a way that it didn't open as far. And I don't think I used a triple on the inside of those, just on the front. There's another one. Triple on the front. Okay, and then inside the double here, yeah, and the double down here. Okay, so lots of things you can do with that butterfly, and there's videos and stuff on those other cards too that you can watch. All right, so let's see, where are we going to start? We need to get some other butterflies out here, don't we? Okay, so let's get out all of our butterflies that are going to need some bodies on them. All right, so all of our pattern, well, basically all the rest of the butterflies. Okay, I think one of them during the prep work video, those of you who watched the prep work video, I think I did show kind of how I like to do it and told you some ideas of markers that you might use. I thought I had one. Oh yeah, here it is. Okay, so what I like to do is I like to go back to my good old trusty Staedtler tripless fine liner, my thin black pen, okay? And let's start with, before we do the side butterflies, let's just start with the ones that are, you know, full on. All right, I think it's easiest to start with a thin black pen and just kind of draw the angle of both sides to connect and give them a little bulb body there, okay? And then you can certainly color that in completely using that same pen. It'll just take a little bit longer because it's a thin pen, right? All right. But if you do have such a thing as any kind of dark, you know, it doesn't have to be a black one. It can be just any kind of dark Copic or brush marker of any sort. You can make more quick work of those bodies. And what's nice about having a brush marker, if you've got one, is that then you can even go lift it up and go around the antenna so you don't see any of the original pattern paper on the sides of the antenna. So that's kind of what I tend to do, is I tend to use both. You know, I start with the thin one to draw my line, my guideline. Okay, and then I fill in with my brush marker, but any pen would do it. Any black pen would be fine. Or leave them alone. I mean, they look kind of cute just on their own too. So it doesn't have, they don't all have to have bodies. Like I don't put bodies on the 3D ones. They're just, they don't have that. So you can certainly make creative choices. So these are, again, 49 market papers from one of the other collections. And they are beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. So where I live in Texas is actually in the Houston area. Well, I'm in a suburb. I'm in Katy, but we've been having just tremendous storms lately. In fact, it's storming right now while I'm filming this outside. It's not as bad as, but we have been having some really bad storms. Now, this doesn't premiere until the 15th of June, so the storms I'm talking about were in May, but they knocked, it's just, there's terrible. In the city of Houston, they had deaths from the storms. There were hundreds of thousands of people without power. We luckily only had a couple flickers, but kept our power. But I'll tell you what, we've been having some really, really bad storms in Texas lately. So hoping maybe by the time this airs that things have settled down and not gotten worse. But it's, when it's not raining, it's hot. It's hot here. It's already in the 90s. And we have very hot summers in Houston. So the reason this virtual class, I guess while I'm cutting butterfly bodies, I can tell you more about the class program. So what'll happen is, well, so we do Zoom class, and then we usually do a virtual class like this. And they're really the same. It's just whether the class day video is a pre-recorded YouTube like this one, or whether it is a Zoom session that you can log in and be on camera live with me. Now, if you can't make the Zoom session, they are recorded and the link is sent out to the students. So anyway, so we'll do 4 virtual classes a year, and the other months we'll do the Zoom classes. Let me tell you what I'm doing right here. I'm once again using my pen to draw around the stitched line on the side butterflies. So see what I did is I just drew around the stitched line kind of at the same border that you get over here. Okay, and then once I have that guideline, then I'll switch to my brush marker to fill them all in. Anyway, so on the Zoom classes, like, so some of you are probably watching this class day recording and you didn't buy a kit. And we do make the virtual classes, we make those public to where people can kind of get a preview of what the classes are going to be like. You know, they might want to join us in the future. Or if you just kind of want to learn the techniques or whatever, you can watch the class. But with the Zoom classes, because the students are also on camera at times, I mean, most of the time it's just my hands highlighted, but if a student has an issue, they can stop me and say, Karen, can you show me that, you know, fence again? Or maybe they're going to say, my butterfly just doesn't look right. And so then if they agree, then we'll highlight them on camera so that I can help them, you know, fix their butterfly or whatever it is. But because, you know, the students are sometimes on camera, then I definitely don't feel comfortable ever making those Zoom classes recordings public. So you do need to be a kit holder on the Zoom classes to be able to participate in both the prep day and the class day video. But you don't have to be there live. If you want to just watch the recording, you can. Our Zoom classes kits are sold exclusively through our stores, our participating stores. And there are 5 of them. As of this recording, there are 5 that are making kits, one of whom is in Europe. So you can find that list on our events page. So go to KarenBurniston.com and click on the events tab. And then you'll find the stores and with links to their websites and things. And some of them have online stores, you know, where you can just put your class kit in the cart and check out. And some of them do it by, you know, you call them or let them email them or message them, and then they send you an invoice. So I mean, there's different. They're all making the same beautiful kits, and they're all the same, you know. It's just which store do you know which store. If you're lucky enough that one of those stores is in your area, then you could pick up your kit. But otherwise, they will ship those kits, so it's not an issue. And like I said, you get your prep work email 10 days before class. That's all I can promise. I beat it this time, but don't get used to that. For those of you who are new, don't get used to having two weeks, because I am always fighting deadline to deadline, and so, you know, it's just. So 10 days before class, we'll send out the prep work. Okay, so we can get started here once you have all of your butterflies that have bodies in. And again, if I was a little faster than you, man, you just hit that pause button. Do it at your own pace. All right, so I'm going to make mine match my original, and I'm going to tell you which butterflies I'm using. Does it have to match mine? No. You can make your own creative choices, okay? But we're going to decorate this back fence, and the first butterfly I'm looking for is one that was cut with some beautiful pink pattern paper in it. I think I got 2, you know, not the one that was the fuchsia pink from the back side of the paper, but the one that was kind of, we cut it up in that area of the, I think we did 2 that were kind of in the most pink area. And so I'm looking for the one that's the darkest, is the one that I started with, if you want it to match mine. Okay, now this one has got to support 3 butterfly as well itself and 2 additional, okay? So when we glue this on, we're actually going to glue this to junior, and we're going to glue it to that little fence post too. So we're going to straddle those 2. So let me show you. I'm going to put my adhesive up junior and on the end of the last stub. Let's see what I can put behind that. I'm sorry, I'm over here. I don't even know how to get the right thing. Okay, there we go, right there. All right, so then I'm going to take this butterfly. I'm going to attach it so that it straddles those 2. And I'll just put it high enough that it kind of covers the top of junior, okay? So that I don't have to trim junior. See that? But I definitely want that butterfly because it's going to support a 3D butterfly and then another one attached to that. So I definitely want that kind of supported in 2 locations. Right? That's going to be my anchor butterfly for that cluster. Now what I did in the handout, those of you who have handouts, if you bought a class kit, is I kind of gave you a little picture, a little close-up picture of the cluster that we're working on. Okay, so we're working on this cluster right now. Okay, so if that's easier for you to look at your handout, which you don't have to print, you could actually just refer to that on your phone or tablet. All right, so now we're going to take this 3D butterfly and we're going to attach it to the back of our first butterfly so that it can open. Okay, so that's the only consideration, is we want it to be able to open. So we wouldn't want to pin down 2, you know, we just really want to, like what I'm going to do is I'm looking at the light pink side and I'm going to take this back right side and I'm going to put that butterfly wing attached, this, you know, right here, kind of behind that. Okay, so let's see. I've got to keep it in the card. All right, let's do this. Put some glue. See my glue there? All right. Now you're going to have to be flexible. Anytime you're using 3D stuff, you're just going to have to be flexible and willing to move stuff. If you create catch points or anything like that, or things are sticking out of the card. Remember, go slow. Go slow when you close it so that it will find a closed position. I got real close to the edge of the card. Okay. So if it were too close to the edge of the card, then I would have to move it. I might have to tilt it up a little bit. I might have to, you know, move it in a little bit. Whatever I could do to get it to stay within the card in the closed position, I would do, including if it was just a little tip, living with it or cutting it off, right? So there's so many butterflies in this card, no one's going to notice that one's got a little bit of a clipped wing. But this is, you know, now you've got a 3D butterfly in here. So as you close it, go slow. Don't do like I do, which is just like, you know, as fast as I can close the card, because then it could, at one point, the wing could come down and crunch against the card and make it weaker. So try not to let that happen. All right, the next one I'm looking for is a shimmer butterfly where the butterfly is facing right. Okay, that goes along with what I said in the first card, where I always like things facing into the card. I'm just weird that way. And for this one, I just used the antenna to attach it hanging off of that 3D butterfly, kind of like this. All right, again, I'm going to have to watch the location so it stays within the card. So here's my adhesive on the back of those antenna. Go like this and attach it to that butterfly, and I'm going to just, again, see how it just crunched right there? So I got to give it a little shake and give it a little time, and then close it and make sure it stays. Okay. Oh, did you all hear that thunder? That is what it's been like here. If you didn't hear it, there was just a big, huge crack of thunder. Okay, that is our clump for the left side of the card. So let me show you on my original here. So we just made that little clump. Okay. All right, now we're going to move on to the mama clump. The mama clump is just 2 butterflies. So it's one of those cool black and white patterned butterflies, again, attached to both mama and a fence post for structural stability. And then we've got our 3D glimmer, shimmer, pink one attached up the rest of mama, okay, so that it can open. So the secret is make sure it can open and keep it in the card. Okay, those are your only 2 considerations on that. All right, so let's find one of those butterflies. I got a couple of them here, so I can pick, kind of pick one. If you really want it to match mine, I wouldn't use the words because that's the one that I used over here. If you've got a lighter or darker one, I guess I'm gonna use the darker one. I think the lighter one is the one I used on the front of the card. No, I mean, it doesn't matter, y'all. It doesn't matter. It does not matter. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Okay, so we're gonna span this fence post and some of mama with that butterfly. So let's see, let's go up this stalk a little bit. I'm going to go at a nice, cute angle. All right, there's our butterfly attached right here. And up some of mama. So I still got some mama sticking up above it. Okay. All right. And then what we're going to do, because we want the pink one to open, is I'm gonna look at it with all the glimmer up, right? Because right now you got to find the side where all glimmer's up. Right now I've only got half glimmer. Here I've got no glimmer. Here I've got half glimmer, and here I've got all glimmer. Okay, so all glimmer. Okay, and then I'm going to let it open. So I'm going to hold the back one and kind of let it open. And that back one is going to attach to mama, and you can tuck it behind the first butterfly you put on, or go over the top. So if your butterfly is let me show you the difference. So on mine, I obviously was able to slide it behind the wing of this butterfly, but it wouldn't matter if it was on top, you know. So don't try and wrench this one up if you glued it all the way to the post. It wouldn't matter. All right, so the adhesive's going to go here on the rest of mama fence post there. Okay, the back section, and I'm going to get it on there and see, because this one gets close to the top of the card. So yeah, it's sticking out. Okay, so that means I got to go lower, or I got to change the angle, or both. Okay, so that's why using glue for this is like a good idea. Let me see what happens if I go a little straighter. I keep it in? Yeah, that keeps it in. Okay, and again, just go slow so we can find a closed position. And if you have to wiggle it, let me see, let's put it this way. This one right here is, there we go. Okay, let me tell you, I'm going to give you a little pep talk right now. Let's say those 3D butterflies were just bothering you because they always want to just against the side of the card. You can, at any time, if you want to, use a pop dot in them and just like basically seal them into a little pop dotted kind of 3D butterfly where it doesn't have the full swing. Okay, so let's say you're mailing this and you're worried about, like, when someone gets it, that they won't know to wiggle it as they close it, or to close it slowly or whatever, and you just want it to, you know, just always look the way you made it or whatever. You could, like I said, you could just throw a little pop dot and seal those into a butterfly that just has a little 3D to it, but it's not this loosey-goosey swingy thing. Okay, and that's going to be beautiful as well. Okay, so I give you permission to anchor any of those if it doesn't, you know, if you don't like it. Okay, over here on the daddy fence post, we're actually going to use the triple as our base. Okay, and you can kind of just slide it. Like what I did is I slid the fence post kind of in here, you know, in between the back, I guess the back left little section right there. I kind of just slid it in there, and then attached it again to the fence post and to this, you know, so that it's above birthday at whatever lovely angle you want. So for that, I would do just like we have been doing. So I'd put the adhesive here, and I would go up a little bit of the daddy fence post. Show you that. Okay, so a little glue there, a little glue up there. Okay, then I'm going to take my triple, and I'll look at it when I got all pretty glimmer forward. Okay, and I'm going to hold it by the middle one so that I can slide the fence post right between these two. And then I'm going to glue that center, that fence post to the center butterfly, essentially, so that you basically got some butterfly behind it, some butterfly in front of it, and we'll open a little bit. So I'll show you that. Okay, so see where that fence post is basically glued to the center butterfly, and then it's the center butterfly that's attached. Is it? No, actually I think it's the back one. This doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it's the back one attached to that fence post or the center ones, whichever one you did, I guess. But see, you get a little bit of open on those. And, you know, I mean, technically, you could even cut another notched butterfly from your leftover paper, and you could convert these into triples, too. So, again, if you're fighting with those 3D, those two, the ones that swing the furthest open, you could convert those into triple, even though you've already put them on the card, because you could backfold this one, slide another notched one through it. So you can convert it, if you want to, into a triple if you're finding that you're having a hard time with it finding a closed position. Okay? So, you know, just ya. Flexible, happy. We're making beautiful card here. Okay, we're gonna take that cute butterfly that has the words in it, if you followed my on the prep work video, and we're gonna use up the rest of the fence post here with that. And once again, I've got to make sure it stays in the card. So let me just get it on there and quickly close it. Well, not quickly close it, you know what I mean. Just make sure it stays in. Okay, it's staying in. Beautiful. Okay, so what I had attached to this one is a right-facing pink pattern butterfly. Okay, and once again, I basically just used the antenna to let it kind of hang into this open space right here attached to that butterfly that we just put on. So let's see. I really just used one antenna. One antenna. Let it kind of, I love the whole way that this card just kind of defies gravity, you know. It's very, very cool. Let me pinch that one there. Okay, but again, you gotta watch for catch points. Oh, that's doing fine. So lean it back when you close it and just kind of go slowly, and it should find those butterflies should find a position to close. Alrighty. What do we got next? Okay, we're almost done with this back fence. All right, so here we've got this one, left-facing pink pattern butterfly. And that one I attached to the 3D butterfly kind of by the body. And it looks, did I attach it to the center one? It looks like I attached it to the center one, but wherever you want it to go. I think I'll just put some adhesive there on my center 3D butterfly and attach that. And, sorry, I was so busy making sure that I could check it before the glue set up. So, yep, stays in. Okay, ta-da. I mean, that's even pretty on its own, really. Even if you didn't do the double fence, you know. If you were trying to simplify this card to make a bunch of them or something, maybe you want to make some invitations or something, you could even just not use the front ones, just put yourself a little border or something across there and cover up those tabs. That'd be nice too. But we're going to make a second fence because why not? Why not? Let's make it great. Okay, so you've got your single fence now to go on the front tabs, all right? So once again, we're going to fold that pretty side to pretty side. Give it a pinch. Okay. And once again, we're going to use the card. And now we can't backfold the card this time, so you're just going to have to use your eye to get the location where it, and in this case, we're going to fold the tab back to where it started again because we're going to attach to the front. Okay, so the last time on that one, it was opposite, that we attached it to the back, but this time we're attaching to the front. Okay, you can, if you want to, use that pencil trick again. Okay, to kind of give you a. Are we putting grass in the front of this one? This grass. I think it's from. Oh, we're putting a butterfly. We're putting a butterfly in front of this thing. So technically, you could kind of give yourself a go by with your pencil to where the glue would go. So in my case, just kind of two fence posts are not going to hit on this one because it's further forward. It's really just going to be one fence post that's going to fit. And I'm looking at this bottom corner and making sure that's right over the fold of the card, and then I'm going in line with the tab, okay, so that it can sit on the ground attached to that tab. Okay, all right, so the adhesive's going to go like this. So I've got vertical and horizontal where the fence post is going to hit it. Go. I'm going to let it lay flat. I'm going to take this lower corner. I'm going to make sure that's right over the fold of the card. And I'm going to bring my fence out to attach it to that tab. Okay, so that it's in line with the bottom edge of the tab. And it's the back section of the fence that just got glued down. Okay, and then this one's going to go over here. Just like we did with the back fence. And again, we don't want to guess. We want to do that in the flat position. Okay, so I'm going to. Ooh, this is a good time to erase. If you want to erase, you can erase. If you do the pencil trick. And we are going to put a butterfly in front of it, so it's not as much. All right, so I'm going to lay my fence down flat. Okay, I'm going to add the adhesive to the section of the fence that's going to hit the other tab. Okay, which presumably will be close to what's underneath it, right? So just if you're looking at the bottom tab, you can kind of see where you can put your glue. Now we're going to have to go slow here. We got that back fence in. We got to make sure that this tab is down back into this, you know, on the other one we had it this way, right? But this time we're going to have it down, back into the position that it was die cut into. Oops, I got to keep that fold. Got to make sure I'm not crunching my fence in the fold. No, trying to not to crunch my 3D butterflies either. Okay, guys, there you go. All right, all right, all right. Yes, yes. Okay, and pick up the fence. Woo! Oh, okay. We got it. Now the front fence, I will say, it doesn't come as far forward generally as it is a little bit, you know, it's not as straight up and down. So if you're looking at yours and going like, oh, I think mine's different than Karen's, yours isn't. This one does. This has a little bit of a back angle too, which I actually like because it keeps the happy birthday visible. Whereas if this was really set forward like this, you know what I mean? You could have some, I like it. I like it the way it ends up. So I don't try to, you know, shorten the fence and thick, you know what I mean, so that it has a tighter angle or whatever like that. I just kind of let it be a little bit more relaxed. We're going to say relaxed. Makes it a little bit more relaxed. Okay, so now let's decorate this front fence. So you really can kind of do what you want. You're trying to avoid obscuring happy birthday, and you're kind of trying to cover, you know, the tabs aren't as noticeable because of the same color as this. You know, they're not that bright pink. But like, for instance, I could take this butterfly here, and if I glue that to the fence, kind of right over where the tab is, then that's going to disguise a lot of it. So I'm going to do that. I guess I could have put the adhesive on the back of the, or in the front of the fence, but I'm just going to do it like this. Do that at a cute angle. We're not putting any 3D front butterflies on the front fence, and it's kind of far enough away from the back fence that I have not seen any sort of catch point issues with these. I mean, I probably shouldn't tempt fate, but I just haven't found that these ones do anything but just blow down and, you know, raise back up again because we haven't put any 3D butterflies on the front. So you really can just do what you want to do for decoration. The one that's the pattern that has some green in it is the one that I put out here, kind of attached in this upper corner of the fence at a nice angle. Did I give you, I think I might have given you a, oh, I did shoot on there. Kind of showed you a little visual of my front fence decor if you really wanted to match mine. It does not have to match mine. It doesn't have to match mine. Just make sure that you're saving some butterflies for the front of your card. So the front of your card is going to be 4 butterflies. So if you want to grab those and put them aside, they're both the side-facing orange ones. They're the front-facing lighter white small butterfly, and then a light pink pattern butterfly if you want it to match mine. So those 4 butterflies are going to go on the front as well as one of your grass pieces. Okay, so what I have left here for my front fence is I have 1 grass, and I have these 3 butterflies, and I've use those 3 butterflies over there in the grass in the middle. Okay, let's put grass on. Once again, I'm just going to go ahead and put the adhesive behind the blades of the grass, press it to the fence, and let the leftover glue dry. That's just easier. So, yeah, this one's a little bit more like you kind of got to use the right glue, you know, because you really need a glue that's going to dry clear, or else you're really struggling to get it on there. Most glues dry clear. But some don't, and what you really don't want is you don't want a glue that dries tacky, okay? Because then you, instead of having a poppy uppy, you have a sticky downy, as I like to say. Because then, and I know that there's one glue that comes in I think it's the Tombow that comes in the green bottle. People love that glue, but it dries tacky. Like, it, you know, whatever squishes out is still sticky. So that's not my favorite for pop-ups. Okay, so we've got this side-facing butterfly. Apparently, I'm changing my rule and letting it face outward, but it's a little more in the, you know, the thing. So, like I said, every rule is made to be broken. Every rule. Let's see. It looks like I put this one on first. So let me put some adhesive where that's going to go. Something like this. I'll show you. Just kind of obscuring the tab a little bit, but still flying in the air. All right. Then I put orange butterfly next to it, like this. And you want it low enough that it doesn't obscure your happy birthday, you know, as you're looking at it. Okay, so somewhat low on the fence for this one. Something like that. Okay, and then we've got this bright pink butterfly for this left side over here. Like this. Oh gosh. Snag your butterflies. Okay, there it is. Beautiful butterfly card. Okay, I really was letting this fabulous paper and these beautiful butterflies do really all of the work of the inside decoration, but I do always think it's fun to repurpose dies from the way that they were intended, and I do think that they're, you can use that chicken wire to make a very cool zigzag border. Okay, now if those of you who watched the prep work video know that I did not pay attention to how I cut my pink, and I didn't have enough to do a full second run of chicken wire without having to go diagonally. But it's fine because the one for the front of the card is shorter because we use them horizontally. Okay, so if you did the same as me, if you were just following along the prep work video and I got one that was the full length and one that was like, oops, not as far, that's fine. Just use the shorter one for the front. But the one for the inside is going to be the full length, 5.5 inches, so that we can go end to end on that. And we just want to make the zigzag border. So we can make 2 of them out of this piece by just cutting up the middle of the chicken wire. The full hexagon or whatever, just cut through the middle of the hexagon. I find it's actually better to do this with with the scissors than a trimmer, because with a trimmer it's just hard to, when you try to cut like little skinny things with your trimmer and it just kind of, the blade hits it and then it, zigs out. So there's one. And I ended up just putting those decoratively on the side. I had considered, I'll tell you this right now, because some of you are like, oh, I have an idea. What if I went all the way around? I wouldn't, because these butterflies come down and they need to slide against the card to find the closed position. And I feel like if you had a border up at the top, that it would catch against it. It would become not a catch point. It would become a catch point for closing, because the butterflies would try and slide into a closed position and they would hit your border. I guess technically you can get 3. I never thought of that. See, this is why I don't write enough notes when I'm doing it. So technically, from one chicken wire, you get 3 of the zigzags. Okay, so you've got, I don't think that one's wide enough to do 2 fronts though, so you still have to cut into your second one. Okay, and then you've got that left over. All right, so we'll save those to the front. These ones are going to go on the inside. And like I said, it's just kind of to your liking to use up some of that outer pink space to make a decorative border. Very, very optional. I don't know that the card really needs it per se. I mean, it was really honestly just more about showing kind of that you can make cool little zigzag borders out of the chicken wire. Sometimes people are not sure about the more specific dies because they think, well, how often will I use it? But then when you can repurpose things and use them in different ways, that just makes it all the better, So I don't think anybody's going to get that card and think, oh, I love how you put that pink chicken wire on it. They're gonna think it's a cool zigzag border. Okay, which one's my long one? Oh, that's short. Oh, where's my other? Oh, I put it on. No, I didn't. I didn't glue it down. Oh. Okay. I'm just kind of going half on the paper and half on the, what's to your liking? It's whatever you want. I guess I mostly put just the stub up on the paper, I guess, the stub of the chicken wire. Use the pink space for most of it, but up to you. Okay, there we go. One beautiful double fence butterfly pop-up card. Okay. All right, we are ready for the front and the back. Okay, so you've got pattern paper for the front and the back. Now, I don't always decorate the back of a card, but in this case, I just really, unless you draw right on the pink, I just didn't see a good spot for you to sign the card. So I decided to add the pattern paper to the back and then put the pre-cut rectangle on the back. Okay, Those of you who bought from our website, I think some of you may have gotten that rectangle in a separate mailing because a couple of them got left out of the kits, and then when it was discovered, they sent them out. So I think Tanya sent you all an email about that. Hopefully you got that. It doesn't really matter which one you put on the front. I put the one that doesn't have all the words and stuff, and I use that one on the back, but it's up to you. Whichever one you want. Okay. Just make sure you haven't turned your card upside down. You are actually decorating the front when you're decorating the front. Ooh. I really wish I would have made, well, that's fine. I could do it. They're so skinny I can do it afterwards. I said I probably should have put those borders on first because I could just cut them right to the edge of the paper that way. But I already had the glue on, so I have no such opportunity now. But what I can do is, it's such a skinny piece, I'll just snip it when I get to the end, you know. So kind of decide where you want that chicken wire to start. I guess I'm going to start it kind of at the middle of the wishbone. Let's see, let's get it. Let me get it to the middle of the edge of a wishbone at the top. Yeah, that almost goes to edge of a wishbone over here. That's okay. Okay, so just a little, I don't know how far down from the top. Is that an inch? Is that 3/4? Something like that? That's just to your eye. Okay, that wasn't too hard to trim it afterwards either. Okay, and then maybe the same kind of thing from the bottom. Tell you, I was talking about these storms. The other day in Houston, it was early this week, there was golf ball sized hail. I wasn't anywhere near it, but I saw it on the radar that they said there was golf ball sized hail. I mean, that'll break your window. That's serious hail. Okay. There we go. All right. So that's the front. I mean, we'll do obviously the rest of the decoration, but I'm going to go ahead and put this on the back. Flip that over. And then you can put your white rectangle wherever. Now with that white rectangle, you're seeing the crosshatch pattern. That's kind of my sort of signature pattern that we do with all of our shape sets, is that crosshatch pattern. So we have all sorts of nested die sets that have that crosshatch, so you can get it in circles and ovals and squares and rectangles and big rectangles and long rectangles and short long rectangles and hearts and hexagons and banners. And so you go on our website and you just put in crosshatch in the search thing. I think they'll all come up. See, there's labels. There's all sorts of ones. Okay, so there's the place for you to write your personal greeting. And then on the front, what we're going to do is we're going to take the, what I had the kit makers do is I had them use there's a frame die in that rectangles and labels crosshatch that basically cuts like this when you cut it. So you end up getting a frame, and that frame fits one of our other pop-up dies. So everything like it really works together. And so my idea was that we could kind of create a little scene on this inner label, you know, with the fence and the grass and the stitched tractor edge and stuff like that, and then we could lay this over the top, and that way you don't have to be quite as precise in how you cut, because we're going to have to hand cut that grass piece to fit. When I say grass, the stitched hill. Okay, all right, so that was kind of like my concept. So you don't want that one yet, because we're just going to work on this one. You can take anywhere along that stitched edge to kind of figure out where, you know, it looks to me like the flattest area is actually where the tractor is. So if you just want to trim your tractor off, you need a tractor on this one. Okay, now you've got this huge stitched edge. Do you want a hill going across there? Do you want this more flat area? You know, it doesn't matter. But what we'll do first is we'll glue the fence on, and it looks to me like the fence posts Oh, some of my fence posts went over my grass. Well, that's, I guess you could do it either way. I don't know. I might just leave it to your artistic interpretation how you want to do this. But basically, I put the fence across something like this. And you guys said you could decide whether the grass, the stitch would go over the fence or maybe underneath. So I guess I should match mine. Okay, so I'm going to go underneath. So once I decide where I want it to go, and I basically go from this corner, this little corner, to this little corner is kind of where I'm looking to have some stitched grass across there. All right, with our last clumpy grass kind of glued underneath like that, right? So once you kind of decide the area that you want, you could lay it on there and put some adhesive on the front of our last grass clump and kind of figure out where you want your grass to grow. I guess where you want your grass to grow, and just glue it to the thing, right? Okay, and then we can glue that down onto this label all over this bottom part right here. Okay, so I mean, this really is your interpretation, so I don't feel obligated to make it match mine. Okay, something like that. Now I don't have any adhesive behind the grass because I want to tuck the fence behind it. All right, so now I have this. So I can flip it over, and really what I can do is I've got the width of that frame to be outside of the label, and it doesn't have to be perfect because the frame's going to make it all pretty, right? So you don't have to cut right against the edge of the label. You can actually cut a little bit beyond it, so that way you don't have to be as perfect like this. So see, that's extending out a little bit, but then when I go and glue it on the card, oh my gosh, my nails, y'all. I've got these pretty nails, but a little thick for picking stuff up. See, it'll pretty it all up along the bottom. Okay, so now let's put the fence on. We're going to slide the fence behind the grass, and then, like I say, it can sit on the stitched edge. It can go over the stitched edge. You know, doesn't. I guess I'm going to do it where I don't have fence posts right on the edge. Let's see, just put glue right there to get started. Okay, cool. All right. I mean, I don't really know how well this actually has to be glued down. I just need it to stay on there. I'll just do whatever I can reach. Doesn't have to be everywhere. Just the front of the card. Okay, something like that. And once again, you can either go right to the edge or you can go a little bit beyond the edge because you got that frame going over the top. So I'll just go a little bit beyond. So a little bit white stubs sticking out there. Okay. Wonderful. Now that can then go on the front of your card, kind of centered wherever you want it to go. Okay, and then we'll throw the frame over the top and then we'll put butterflies on it. Leftover butterflies. So yeah, that's called Rectangles and Labels Crosshatch. That's the die set that we're using for those pre-cut pieces. Something like this, perhaps. Okay, we've got this. Okay, and I'll have to use, let me get the rest of that. I'll have to use this top edge to set the location because it's not going to go, it's going to go over the top of my sticky outy bits of fence and grass. Okay, I'll just go in there and push it to snuggie up next to the label. And then that will set the location at the bottom. So something like that. So I just kind of pushed it and snuggied it up. And then it ended up where it ended up down here. Alrighty. Okay, so then for butterflies, I did an orange left facing, this white pattern one, this pink one. I mean, just basically going to make a cute little butterfly scene, and then this one's just down here. Okay, so just glue your final 3 butterflies on and you're done. Okay, something like this. and then this. There we go. One cute pop-up happy birthday butterfly fence cards. See, it will find a closed position, but sometimes when you know, it just happens to be that comes down right in against your card, so you may have to shake it a little bit, you know, to get it to close down. And that's just the nature of 3D elements like that, you know, the swing elements, I guess 3D swing elements like that, you know, they have to swing into a closed position. We did it. This is an A2 size card. You're just going to use an A2 size envelope. It is not over a 1/4 inch thick, but it is a little rigid. Okay, so to make sure it gets where you want to go, you may want to go ahead and use that butterfly non-machinable stamp if you're in the States, or add the little 15-cent extra ounce stamp on it to kind of take care of the fact that it's a little more rigid. Or you can try it with a single stamp. I mean, I think it's probably under an ounce, and it's definitely under a 1/4 inch, but it is rigid, so I think you might need a little extra postage on that. And then 5x7 for your other card. Let's get that one out. Barn card. All right, y'all. Thank you so much for joining us for our June 2024 virtual class. Like I said, you can always find information about upcoming classes on our website, KarenBurniston.com. Go to the events tab. You'll find links there to the stores. So when you're interested in those Zoom classes, we'll still advertise them on our website, but we won't sell kits there. You'll have to go to the stores to buy your kits. And for those of you who are going to join me this summer for some of those Zoom classes, I will see you in July. Bye.